What is up, everybody? We are live. Had some stuff. We were both actually, me and Gary, doing stuff backstage before we went live. So we're only a couple of minutes late. Nothing too crazy. Nonetheless, I appreciate y'all joining us as we try to work our way back into the algorithm after for being buried in fulfillment. We had a great talk with Az yesterday as well, chatting about random stuff and what's going on in the industry. We actually talked, get Gary's perspective on some of this stuff as well as just talking comics and everything else. So again, big shout out to you all. You guys know, thumbs up, all that other stupid shit, whatever. Appreciate y'all hanging out with us today. Nonetheless, man, Gary, what's up, bro? How you doing?
I'm good. Busy as all hell right now.
I saw
Live
the
streaming
One Piece video this morning.
Cheers, man. Yeah.
So that was what's up.
A labor of love. You got to do those once in a while. Perry loved it. He called it like knocking it off his bucket list. So we're gonna do more. I'll even tell you what it's the next one will be. Daredevil, the Daredevil series,
the original.
Yeah,
not like
the original. That's gonna be our next one.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna go back and not once in a while I'll drop those out just because they're fun and I like having fun once in a while. We got a video coming out later today too. That's back to back to business. Got to talk about Marvel, but this one's kind of like, dude, we're at a stage now where it's all you toxic fans. I count myself as one. You were right all along. Still, so
there he goes.
And there are so many eerie similarities between. Eric, you've been talking about this longer than me, okay? Your boy Zach has been talking about this longer than me.
Oh, yeah.
So what happened with comics is almost exactly what happened with the MCU, to the point where they both fired Alonzos. Axel Alonso and Victoria Alonso.
Ironic.
How weird. I know. I didn't notice it either till I was going through the timeline. I'm like, wait a minute. They don't like Alonzos.
That is incredibly funny how that works. So yeah, you're working on a video talking about Marvel. I actually want to go ahead and get into this actually real quick. I'm going to pull this up because I'm not sure if you're talking about this in your upcoming video, but this was something that happened a couple of days ago, and we both. I mean, you want to talk about proving us right? In fact, released a video yesterday, and that was the title, talking about this, and basically thanks for proving us right. And let me share my screen real quick. Okay, so here it is right here. Max Massaggio, right? She's done a lot of weird shit, to say the least. Okay. Has done work with really all of the major comic book publishers at some point. And there was a window where she kept getting gigs.
Yeah.
Marvel, DC, IDW. Very, very bizarre. And not too long ago, as indicated right here, she put on Twitter a pitch. That's what it was, a pitch, right? It was saying that, okay, yeah, this was my plan, right? Now, look, not as unique. People make pitches all the time. This gets pitched. Someone said in the chat, my audio's low. Why would that be happening? Let me go make sure my audio.
Hey, Derek Robertson.
Yeah.
Did the concept art?
Yeah,
it was Derek.
Yeah, apparently.
I know Derek. Derek, what are you doing?
Audio seems fine. All right, y'all telling me two different things. I got one side.
The chat's lying.
Hey. Other people are saying that is low. Make your minds.
The chat likes to F with people. Bless you.
All right, audio's fine. They say okay. Either way,
let's see. So, yeah, it's you sound fine to me.
Yeah. So
you chat, you guys.
Okay. All right. So slick bastards. Okay. So you have
yeah. This first time I'm seeing Derek's name. I'm like Derek. So he did the concept art that we're gonna get to.
All right. Yeah, we're gonna get to the concept art for sure. But just to preface it, imagine like y'all saw the previous video that I did on this. So Max said that this was the new direction that they wanted to go for Connor Kemp. I guess the name there was going to be changed to Skyrocket, and they were going to change, or Mags wanted to change Connor Kent into a trans girl, right? Trans woman or some sort.
Transmission, manual,
Yes.
manual transmission.
Something along those lines.
Going from manual to automatic.
Essentially. So, in this, the reason why I found this so like, I get it, because some people, the gaslighters, are going to cling to this idea that we've just been making shit up. And so they're saying now, even though you have a writer that flat out just said, yeah, this is my intention, they're saying, well, it was just a pitch. Nothing happened. I think the context that's being lost on this, and I mentioned this yesterday, is think about all the scripts that were accepted. I think that's along the lines of how you got Gay Iceman, which makes no fucking sense, and Tim Drake, and as well. None of that makes sense. But those all start. I mean, we see actually T. Franklin, that's her name. She has no problem also bragging about it on Twitter about what it is that she's doing that's along these social premises and those social lines and all this bullshit. Nonetheless, this, and it's funny because like this text right here, and Mag says, "I love Connor Kent," and I just
do you?
Yeah, right. I have a hard time believing that, because why on earth, if you for a character, and I think we've seen this pretty much in every major kind of franchise right now, right? Where the person goes back and they say they love this franchise so much, they love this character so much, but they're leading an effort to fundamentally change them, right? Which doesn't make sense, because once that happened, it's no longer that character. It's whoever you envision them to be. And that doesn't really make sense. But in order to honor this character, there's a couple of arcs in all this. Essentially, long story short, they want Connor to go through this sort of identity crisis and then come out of that. And this was the concept art right here.
Oh, Derek.
Where Connor Kent becomes a trans girl.
I did not see his signature down there. I am.
Oh, it was Derek. Yeah, it was Derek.
Derek,
yeah.
brother.
I hope you got some.
I know why I did it. I know I did it. I know. I'll have to tell you that in private chat. But oh, dude. Oh my God.
Before we get Gary starts, I want to read this part. So
Please.
The Kryptonian Transformation Chamber remade her in this new image. I know this is a big move, but bear with me. I believe this to be this is a very natural and organic direction that sets Connor apart, builds out the relevant supporting cast, and gives the character a firm foundation for the future. So it's beliefs, and this is the part that really got me.
Babylon B is like got a hold of this, right? I mean,
I hope so. That would make more sense. But this is the part that really got me from a storytelling perspective. I believe this is as natural a move as Iceman's coming out.
Oh, so, it is.
Yeah,
that's right.
That's the point. I guess technically not wrong. Technically not wrong. It is as natural. And by as natural, it's like fucking nonsense. And it should have never happened, but it did. Unfortunately, happen. And of course, she uses the trademark as a trans girl somewhere here. Yeah, right here, as a trans woman. Right. I need to make it clear that this is very common. And even again, because she brings up the fact, where was it, that like Connor had a buzz cut and wore leather right here. Connor already dresses like a lesbian. That's the leather jacket, the size buzz. Come on. So I guess they said Connor dresses like a stereotypical lesbian, is what Mags is saying. And therefore, why not go for it and make Connor whatever the fuck this may be is
Mags Visaggio the best is it the best person to have an opinion on anything when it comes to superheroes and gender? I mean, are they're just going to project itself on whatever it wants We already saw that one writer go out and say, "Oh, the entire superhero genre is a trans allegory or something like that."
Oh
It's
yeah,
like,
that's the
you know what?
gaslight part of it. Yeah.
You can make it whatever you want to be, but that's not what it is. You know what? Back in the 50s, were there a bunch of gay innuendos in the comics because of the comics code? Yes, there were. And it was the artist generally effing with people. And yes, absolutely. But this is a sick person who is so uncomfortable in their own skin that they need the entire world to look like them. And guess what? If that happens, which it won't, they still won't feel better about themselves. And this is what happens when you pander, and you don't give somebody something based on their talent, to virtue signal to make, when I'm speaking as if I'm somebody from the stupid mainstream comic book industry who keeps giving them jobs, not based on their talent, based on their identity, so they can pat themselves on the back. This is the damage it does. It does damage to another human being. However you feel about Mags, however undeserving Mags is, however stupid Mags has been online, this is where you're going to see the cruelty of that, the human cruelty of that is going to have consequences down the line. So some a-holes can feel good about themselves, and that could go across the line to so many things. And now, like, you know, I guess Bendis liked this tweet or something like this, and I know this was out there.
Sounds about right.
You know what? I do it. Do it. Go for it. Absolutely go for it. Why not? It's all in flames now anyway. Transition Batman. Transition Superman. Make Wonder Woman a dude. Let's go. I'm ready. Make it happen.
Yeah,
let's see what you're really about, DC Comics.
Do it. Oh, it'll be a source of endless content for all of us. Certainly, if you do, and we're probably going to make more money off of that video covering this than you do on whatever sales, I guess, you make from this series that was pitched. And you know, again, the whole as a trans woman thing is in there, which pretty much just solidifies the fact that this is all self-insert, and these are narcissists that it is that we're dealing with. We're dealing with people that feel like whoever it is that they write, whatever characters it is that they do, they need to make it about themselves, right? They're incapable, just completely incapable of viewing things like in some sort of like objective lens, right? One of the things that one of the things that I think gets slept on with this type of thing, and you know, if you're a writer, okay, let me say this will be the equivalent. I'll actually give you an analogy, and I've given this one before. This would be the equivalent to me, let's say DC, which I wouldn't write for them. They couldn't pay me enough. They couldn't afford me if they wanted me anyway. But let's assume that in a alternative reality, right, DC brought me on to write Batman. Okay. And I turned Batman into a fucking anarcho-capitalist. Okay.
I'd buy every variant. I'd buy every variant. I want the taxation is theft variant of Batman. Don't you, chat? Come on.
It probably would sell pretty well. It would. It probably would sell very well. But on a serious note, this is the equivalent, right? It would be the equivalent to me saying, you know what, Batman now is me. Right, and he's going around, he's fucking, you know, talking about how much he fucking despises the goddamn government, and all that. And
I feel like Jack Nicholson. Yeah,
I could probably make it a very interesting story, to be completely honest. It says someone said anarcho Batman. Yeah, that's what. Maybe that'd be the title.
Hell yeah, dude.
Maybe that would be the title of it, and I probably could make it more intriguing. But here's the thing. You know, the thing I love about Chuck Dixon, who obviously is right now, of course, it's coming up for us, is, and I am maybe repeating some of the things that I said yesterday, but, you know, Chuck's first thing that he wanted to do, right, was understand who the characters were. That was the first thing he needed. It was before he wrote out a script, any of that. He was like, okay, Eric, I need you to explain to me who are these characters, okay? We had, not only did I send him everything and I had in my universe Bible on all three of the Alpha Core members and those associated with them. I also had a meeting, like an actual live meeting, and we discussed kind of ideas and all that, because to him that was what was important. It wasn't about like trying to turn, you know, Brian from the Alpha Core into Chuck Dixon. You know what I mean? That wasn't the intention. The intention was to write a believable story that made sense for those characters and were who the vision of those characters was supposed to be. And that's, I think, what separates an actual writer, a good one for sure, from what we deal with now kind of in mainstream, where it's a bunch of people that are writing for themselves and their peers, right? And everything needs to be reflection of that. And anything outside of that is blasphemous to them. And more importantly, if you reject it, then you're something has to be fundamentally wrong with you. I'm actually surprised that Mags is not claiming whoever when he pitched this, who was Didio, maybe was still there. I don't know who was still there when this was pitched. But maybe I'm surprised she didn't call him trans. Well, actually, no, they are calling him like all sorts of names.
They are going after him. He talked to John De La Rose, right?
He talked to John De La Rose, so they are actually going after him. I'm surprised she didn't just go and say, "Hey, they were transphobic for rejecting my my script," because that would be more par for the course.
Do you think Mags is humbled now? Like Mags knows that it can't get any jobs anywhere, so it's really trying to grovel as much as it can after it's screwed over so many people.
Obviously finances aren't in good shape. Do we know the GoFundMe's and all that, despite being this GLAAD nominated artist or writer, as well as Eisner nominated writer. This still is a thing, right? And she's not doing the best financially. And maybe this is a last, because I don't know I think the last bit that she may have, well, at least the last bit that got published, it's been a couple of years, right? For at least Marvel and DC. If I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong. Maybe there's an outlier or something, but I know like 2020, 2021, like I think that was the last that we had heard of her from them. As far as writing those characters that she was writing, or those annuals or one-off stuff that they were giving her at the time. So maybe that is what it is. Maybe it's a Hail Mary. Maybe it's one of those, look, man, there's fucking no way. The industry is in shambles. Why not? Fuck it. You know what I mean? I want to be the talk of conversation. But on a serious note, it does validate every single thing it is that we have said, because this is who they are. So for every idiot who insisted that myself or Gary, or you mentioned like your boy Zach and the likes, who mention this and say that it's going on and has been happening, well, you have examples, multiple examples. This is one of the more recent blatant ones of these writers trying to make it about them, projecting themselves onto these characters, and they don't care if it fundamentally changes them, despite them, as she said, loving them. I loved it so much. I love. We keep hearing this.
Oh yeah,
all these actors are saying the same thing about goofball changes that are happening to franchises that have been around forever. Oh, I was such in love. What the chick from Little Mermaid? Oh, I loved it so much.
I loved it so much
growing up, but
but I couldn't see myself as her.
Yeah, exactly. Right. But you
until I cut off the lower part of my body and put on a fishtail. What the hell? I love Galadriel so much that I strapped on a dildo and put a bunch of armor on her and had her, gang drape orcs. That's how much I love Galadriel.
Yeah.
That's bullshit. They don't like any of these characters. They never liked any of these characters. I heard you say it when you were talking to Az, and I completely agree. Or maybe it was Geeks and Gamers Daily. I watch a lot of live streams, and I watch them all, and I give a like, too. I heard you say, and I completely agree, most of these MFers who come in and say, I've been the biggest fan all my life, including Kevin Feige, are full of shit.
Oh, yeah.
I have audio. I didn't put it in my next video, but it's been go look for, I have audio of Kevin Feige saying, hey, I was a Marvel fan, but, I watched the cartoons and I bought the pajamas and T-shirts. He didn't say he bought the comic books.
He didn't say nothing about comics.
No, he didn't say anything about comics. He's more of a Star Wars fan. That's honest. That's fine. And maybe he'd do a better job over there, but he's not doing a good job at Marvel. Yeah, and J.J. Abrams, Jar Jar, said a big Star Wars fan. Yeah, he probably bought a Star Wars shirt once. Sure, I believe that. He's not a big Star Wars fan. So that's what we're dealing with. There are a bunch of people who secretly hate this shit, are part of it because they want it on their resume and don't give a crap that they've completely destroyed it, left it in dust, and we, the hardcore fans, will be around to pick up the pieces or, just forget about it and go buy old stuff, which is what we're doing now.
Yep.
That's and it's over. Woke Hollywood is burning right now. It is absolutely burning, and it's glorious. And all it took was the wars and TDS and COVID and the summer of love and the loss of every intellectual property we've ever loved. But it's finally over.
Yeah, finally. But I mean, yeah, you put it greatly. We talked about that and how these guys don't really like this stuff. And yeah, again, it is going to be us. And this is why there should have been, I know people feel some kind of way, they call it gatekeeping or whatever, but there should have been some sort of pushback when all of these people, it became the hot commodity, right? Comic book based stuff. And instead of like at least trying to preserve the sanctity of what it is that you've known and loved, you just let everybody in. And so they took it, hijacked it, bastardized it, threw it out there to everybody. And yeah, to your point, they'll move on to the next thing. Even with the burning down of the entire comic book industry, they'll move on to the next genre of something. I don't know what it would be. And they're going to try to run it into the ground. They're going to absolutely try to run the bad boy into the ground. And the people that are left to try to make something of these ashes are going to be those that were there before they got here. I love what Chuck Dixon calls them. He calls them like, he says, we're lifers. He says that they're fucking tourists. You know what I mean? Because that's right.
Tourists, frauds, posers. But no, we're lifers. I'll be a life. I'm gonna love this stuff all my life. I don't really care who likes it or not. Somebody did bring up at the chat, and I think we should bring it up later, because we're in the middle of this. The South Park trailer, dude. Did you see that? Yeah. Holy shit.
Yeah,
For one, I gotta say, a little late, South Park.
Yeah.
A little late. Couple years too late, but I'm glad you're doing it.
Glad it's happening.
Glad it's happening. It looks magnificent. So we can definitely talk about that.
Yeah, we gotta talk about that. Boy, they call it a pandaverse, is what they
Pandaverse. The Pandaverse.
That's pretty good. With all of them race swapped. But yeah, that it looks like it's gonna be good, and there'll probably be some people that'll be upset at that, and I'm sure
good.
I was about to say, I'm sure some good content, and it's gonna come from that. But we'll move to this because it kind of speaks to a similar thing as far as not necessarily the attempt, but more so what this is. And I will go ahead and present this real quick. What this seems to speak more towards is going to be the decline of like comic book based stuff, which simultaneously you have what's happening right now in Hollywood. There's another story that happened yesterday that we'll be covering here in a little bit, but I do want to want to
this is a big deal.
Yeah, so I do want you to verbalize that because we have discussed this, but I do think that this is a bigger deal than what people are maybe making of this. I know that's what Hollywood reporters' job is, to try to soften the blow. And they did, and they attempted to in this article, and they're like, well, this is just happening right now. And I'm like, yeah, let me say this. And I would say it's launched this pandemic with a playbook to shoot 150 million plus seasons, no pilots. The Disney unit is undergoing growing pains and seeing the logic of traditional TV culture. And what's happening is they've shot 9 episodes, well, a little under 9 episodes. I say less than half, right? So 8 probably of the 18. And why this is significant, I'm gonna let you go as well, is they're also all right, look. Marvel has made it clear they will put out bad shit.
Oh, without question.
Okay? They will do it. They will 100% do that. And whether it be your She-Hulks of the world, your you name it, right? They have no Miss Marvel, even though they're gonna say, hey, ratings were through the roof, viewerships tanking.
Whatever.
Whatever. So they'll put out something that doesn't really have a whole lot of excitement around it. They have made that clear. They'll do that. However, this was so bad, and sure, they'll say they'll keep a little stuff. They'll keep some here and there. But they not only fired the writers, basically, they got rid of the fucking directors.
They did.
So the head writers are fucking gone. The directors are gone. And now they're like, the slate, I don't know if anybody is still around. The slate's clean. They're like, okay, we got to try to bring some people in to try to figure this shit out. But I just think that context, I'm gonna let Gary go in a bit, but I think that context is so very important. It's that look at what they have put out and had no problem doing it versus what this is, and them saying like we can't. I mean, the way that I see it is that they're saying they can't put this shit out as is. They can't.
No, it's so bad. Okay. Let's go back to Comic-Con. We were at Comic-Con together.
Yep.
Had a great panel. That was awesome. Thanks, Chris Gore. Hail Chris Gore. Hail Frank Gore.
Shout out.
And I had a really good time this year. Like, dude, best time I've had in a decade. Just walking the floor, buying comic books, hanging out with people. So Garrett and I ran across a creative who was hasn't worked for Marvel, but was brought in for an interview, for a legit interview. And the creative was actually pretty excited about it. And they said, listen, they know they've effed up. They know it now. It's like undeniable. Now that creative, being kind to Kevin Feige, said Kevin Feige just took too much on his plate. I'm way more critical of Feige than that. I think he's the Marvel Kathleen Kennedy. But
Same.
either way, took too much on his plate, forced agenda, intersectional feminism, turned it in the MCU, and that's what it is. So but I was told like Echo was they reshot it 3 times. They actually legitimately tried to cancel it and couldn't for legal reasons.
Jesus.
I've also talked to somebody else years ago, a year and a half ago. It's not years, kind of years. And they told me the process. This is somebody who worked on a Disney Marvel project. Okay. I can't say what capacity. I wish I could. And they told me what the process was. And in that article, they laid exactly down the process I was told. Other people have been told this too. Other people, I'll just say there's other YouTubers out there who know what's going on this too. And the reason they contacted us privately, they're like, hey, of course we can't, they don't want to lose their job and their families and stuff. But they go like, you guys are over the target. And let me tell you why you're over the target. And there's a lot of people who quietly agree with you. And that's great. I would love for them to come out and say it because it would have way more impact and change would have happened faster. But that's just the way it is. It's easy for me to say that when, my job's not in the line. But they told me that there's no showrunners. They told me that they come in and have a writer kind of lay out the series, give you a beginning and an end, and bail. Jeez. And basically it's producer-driven content. Now, Kevin Feige is a producer. Kathleen Kennedy's a producer. They're not creatives. They are not creative people. Feige used to be surrounded by really good creative people who knew what the hell they were doing and got rid of all of them systematically. And he's had some pretty freaking horrible ideas. She-Hulk, through and through, was his idea. All right. And that includes making the fans the villain. All right. So I'm not going to praise Kevin anymore. I think what he accomplished with a team of people early on will never be done again. And if he just left after Endgame, which he should have, they would have named Hollywood after him and streets after him. And he would have been just a legend for the rest of the time. But he hung around too long. And then he became the villain. So what happened with Daredevil was they looked at the dailies. They had shot 8 episodes and went, wow, this is crap. And that article, which you write, went soft, still threw the writers under the bus. It mentions that Daredevil doesn't get in costume till episode 4. Episode 4. And it's an episodic legal drama. Hot off the heels of She-Hulk, an episodic legal drama that was a huge, huge disaster. Marvel also knows that Kingpin and Daredevil are 2 of their very best characters that they cannot screw up. That's why they tried to shit-can Echo, because they're in Echo too. And I think they're being edited out of it mostly. I don't think you can take them completely out of it. But Vincent D'Onofrio's Kingpin in the Netflix Daredevil was the single best Marvel villain in live action ever. Daredevil season 1 and 2 are the best Marvel live action thing ever, and ever will be. They will never be able to get that. So they fired the writers and directors, and they started, Marvel's rethinking their entire thing. So that goes along with what I heard is that we're pumping the brakes and look for more to get canceled. Look for a lot more to get canceled. And in my next video, I give some unsolicited advice that they will not listen to that will that could save their brand. that could save their brand, but they won't listen to it. Look what's going on with DC right now. They keep on releasing flop after flop after flop after flop. Each one of those flops is going to affect Superman Legacy, no matter how good it is. And by the time it comes out, you know, the action movie might be back. It's kind of looking that way. It's hard to tell right now. But the action movie might come back. The Western might come back. I mean, Yellowstone, like it or not, has really brought kind of that feel back, which is good, by the way. I want the Western to come back, like the old school Western. So Daredevil is such a big deal because, and we've said this before, delaying Ironheart to 2025 was the previous as close to Marvel admitting failure as we'll ever get until yesterday. Marvel admitted failure.
Yeah.
Because they've already failed. It's not failing. It's failed.
Yeah.
And you don't come back from this. You might be able to come back a little bit from this, but what the investors want, because this is the problem with, I love capitalism. I love the free market. I freaking hate corporatism and investors because it's a trough that you always have to feed, and you can't just like, hey, we broke even this year. It's cool. You know, you can as a solo business owner. You're like, hey, man, I didn't go broke. Right on. Let's go. So you can't be creative. It's impossible to be creative in this. You always got to make things bigger and better when after these huge endgame things, you bring everything back down. You do personal stories, you build up new characters, you do street level stuff, and then you build up to another event in 10 years.
Yeah.
Not 3, not 4. And isn't it interesting, Eric, that the MCU fell in about the same amount of time as Marvel Comics did, 4 years.
It happens quick.
There was problems before that, but shit got really bad over a 4-year period, and it fell apart.
It happened quick.
It happens quick.
It happens fucking quick, bro.
Quick.
It happens
and
fast.
Chuck was saying this a long time ago. He's the bottom will fall out quick.
Yeah, it happens real fast, man. And it's only so much that Shield Media, Access Media, and people that walk around as if nothing's going the way that it is, and they expect you to just completely ignore the fact that unit sales are going down and general interest is going down. It's like what these guys have to like. This is when I really knew that they were retarded. I'm gonna just be completely honest.
They are.
And I knew it pretty early on, but the lack of, and I'm repeating myself, but it's true. It's the lack of, okay, after Endgame, it was the lack of just really that should have lit a fire under them to focus on the fact that you have all the Fox properties now. Okay, right?
Yep.
So that used to be a big hurdle for them, right?
Yep.
It was only so much they could do. Even with the Spider-Man and Sony, it was only so much that they could do. They did kind of figure out what they could do with the Spider-Man joint. But as far as with Fox, they didn't have access to the X-Men. They didn't have access to the Fantastic Four. And maybe Silver Surfer was tied up into that as well, if I'm not mistaken.
I think, yes, Silver Surfer's tied up in Fantastic Four and a couple other things.
Yeah. So those were very prominent characters, Marvel's first family, right? Obviously the X-Men, a major property there. And, you know, you have the rights. They're yours. You merged, you got Fox, whatever you want to call it. You now have it. And I asked this question I asked yesterday, and I ask it to you, Gary. What the fuck have they done with those properties?
X-Men and Fantastic Four, nothing. Absolutely nothing. And they've had them for years. Nothing. Now, we've heard rumors that there was, with X-Men, not with Fantastic Four, that there was some rights issues to where if they produced another X-Men movie, they would have to cast some of the new characters from the Fox series. Not with the Fantastic Four. Fantastic Four, you could have started immediately. Why have they dragged their feet on this? That is a very good question. It's dumb. That you fast track that before, I don't know, America Chavez, Miss Marvel.
I don't even care what's on the slate, right? I don't care what we had planned. I get it. Some of this stuff is well down the line. Once we got a hold of that, I'm fast tracking all of that shit. Like I'm trying to figure out, okay, how do we make it make sense? That's all I'm trying to figure out. And then to me, it seemed fucking obvious, right? It's like, okay, you have now ended And I get it. It takes a couple years, however long to shoot this shit. But you got this Disney Plus thing. You got the end game situation. Would it have not been perfect if you're like, okay, we're going to take it back to square one to try to build something around either the X-Men, Fantastic Four, or fucking both, right? To be completely honest, that was a very doable thing, and it made the most sense. And they did fucking nothing with it. They still haven't. Like we've got castings for movies that are coming out fucking 3 years from now, and we don't have shit. We know that they're thinking about it, but we don't have anything. And instead, we got, I mean, because if you look at that slate over the next year and some change, like what do you have to look forward to if you think about She-Hulk and you think about fucking Miss Marvel, and then we got Echo, Agatha, fucking, which they can't decide what the name is of that fucking shit's gonna be.
It's got a third name. Yeah.
You got these Thunderbolts,
the
like
Dark Dire. Yeah, the Thunderbolts. And it's not even the Thunderbolts from the damn comics.
Yeah, it's not, of course, it's just only Thunderbolts.
It's got Ghost. Remember Ghost? Remember the bad guy who's a girl that was another gender and race swap from the comics, and Ant-Man and Wasp.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, Wasp and Ant-Man. The only reason you watched it was for the post-credit scene where they disappeared in the snap. No, they lost their effing mind. And I thought that they would just, I can't even get their logic around it because, like you said, they're just idiots. Like, this is
no idea what they're doing.
It was
being completely honest.
Dumb. You have Fantastic Four, you clean your slate, and you get the best director who knows what the hell they're doing, knows the source material, and you make that thing look as close to Jack Kirby and Stan Lee as you possibly can, and then you might have a chance for success. When Tim Story is probably going to direct a better Fantastic Four films than anything Disney Marvel's going to. Do you see the director?
Yeah.
This guy's a TV director.
Yeah.
He's a TV director. He's directed a couple of episodes here and there. And they had the guy who did No Way Home, which I wasn't high on until the last movie. And I'm like, okay, maybe he could do it. Maybe like they took the reins off him and let him have some fun. But he left. Other people have left. They need to fire this director. They need to fire everybody, and then they need to look at like a show like One Piece and go, how did we approach this? Oh. How do we approach this? So what you do, you call John Byrne, one of the last living people who like knows Fantastic Four through and through. Is he hard to work with? I don't give a shit. You call John Byrne. John Byrne would be happy to sit down and talk to you about Fantastic Four all day long, probably. He loves comic books. Don't know what his relationship with Marvel or Disney is. Probably not good. But you know what? You make it good.
It doesn't matter.
You make it good because you want to make money, and John Byrne knows his shit. So you talk to him. And then you go from there, and you find it doesn't have to be a biggest name. It has to be the best name who knows, has a working knowledge of the comics. You don't have to be an expert. You can become one. But has a working knowledge and knows the feel of that book. And it's tough to adapt. But if you can adapt One Piece, if you can adapt Lord of the Rings, you can adapt the Fantastic Four. It's the first family of comic books.
I'd argue it's easier. It's easier to do Fantastic Four than it is to do fucking anime. You know what I mean? Like, or manga. 100%. Definitely one of the likes of with all that Flash and shit that One Piece has. Like this is a no-brainer. Fucking complete no-brainer. And they neglected to do that. And this is why I know that they don't have guys over there that know what the fuck that they're doing or really care enough to know what it is they're doing. Because you look at what is Fast Track. I almost failed to mention between Agatha and all these other characters, fucking Ironheart, and all that. It's like Blade. I don't know what the status of that shit is. Blade even fucking happening?
It's actually in the same position that Daredevil's in right now.
Okay.
So it's the new writers. They're scrapping, and they had the guy who wrote True Detective. Now, granted, the later seasons sucked, but the first season was good. He took a crack at it and couldn't do it. And Marshall Ali, I'm probably going to screw up his name. I can't believe the guy's still around. Like, guy's a respected actor. Like, guys, he's really good. He would be good as Blade in another universe where they would. Where they'd make a legitimate Blade. Yeah. And how are you going to make one better than the one in the 90s with Wesley Snipes? You can't, dude.
That's going to be impossible. They're definitely not one that's PG-13.
You know what they should do? You know who they've had access to for years before the Fantastic Four and the X-Men? Ghost Rider. They could have gotten all the monsters. They could have done all the Marvel monsters and done the supernatural Marvel. But you know why they didn't do it? Freaking China. They were so afraid of the China rating that they ignored this and entire rad part of the Marvel universe. And you could have done the Supernaturals. You know, I don't know if you remember that book, but you put a team together, and that would have been freaking killer. Put Blade in it, Ghost Rider, Man Thing. You know, like there's shit.
Fucking Man Thing.
All day, Man Thing's all.
Yeah.
Everybody's got a giant size Man Thing #1, right? Every comic collector.
Oh man, like it's between that and I mean that's your Mephisto and all that good stuff.
Dude,
like,
Mephisto should have been the next big bad. How is he not the next big bad?
Yeah. Everybody kept
Kang?
like, "Hey, do it!" Like everybody thought that the whole Scarlet Witch shit was going to happen with the Mephisto.
Yeah,
nothing.
The dark hole. I mean, like everything was. I mean, honestly, there was. I remember watching Charlie Emergency Awesome video talking about the Easter eggs, and I'm like, he had me convinced. I'm like, maybe they are setting up Mephisto because there was a lot of stuff that lined up with it, and then the writer of the show's like, "Who's Mephisto?
Who's Mephisto? We don't even know who the fuck that
I'm
is."
like, oh, we're fucked. We're done. It's over. It's over. It's over, Johnny.
I forgot about that.
She didn't even know who it was.
Flat out said it like, "Hey man, before we didn't know who Mephisto even was," and I'm like, okay, so you're doing all these various characters and you have no idea. And this is the thing, man. Like, and what makes it so frustrating? I guess probably Star Wars fans can feel me on this as well. But my frustration is that I don't feel that there's a shortage of people that are competent writers that are like that live and breathe that brand, right? Then having that knowledge base, whether it be understanding these characters, understanding the stories through and through, back to front, they understand it. And those are not the people that get the gigs. Those are not the people that they even fucking reach out to. We keep getting people that are, let's say, really holding it down, the fort, if you will, for these projects, the shot callers from showrunners, all that good shit. And they don't seem to be really invested, and they don't really seem to actually give a shit about the property. Again, for them, it's another credit. And they're the ones that get they're the ones that get the gig. It's like, hey, Marvel's the hot thing right now. I'll be attached to this show. Maybe it'll advance my career. But I mean, from a producer standpoint, from a creative standpoint, you're not gonna get the best and brightest by picking from people that don't know this shit. It's just not gonna. Well, you're not gonna get the best and brightest ideas. You're just gonna get fluff. You're gonna get people that. This is why so many of these fucking characters, especially as of late. I mean, hell, even fucking Agatha, right? You mean, you want to talk about the Fantastic Four? That
Yeah.
could have been your fucking angle with the Fantastic Four, but you were ageist. You fucking ageist over at Marvel. Had to make her fucking young, right? And you know,
she was a supernatural babysitter.
Yeah.
But she's also around. Dude, I have the original art. It was Paul Smith art. There's an Avengers comic, New Avengers or Avengers, not New Avengers, West Coast or Avengers. Can't remember which one it was. Where Magneto comes down and saves a catatonic Scarlet Witch. Like comes down and just takes her. You know, flips up the whole house. And it's a cool storyline. It's such a cool storyline. I remember Agatha. She's an old lady. Look at Madam Web over at Sony. She's not some hottie. She's basically Aunt May with the blindfold in a wheelchair, you know, or a giant throne who can travel the multiverse because we love that so much.
That was your angle, and they neglected that could have got you into the fantastic. I mean, there's so many layups. You know, I've obviously talked about the imagine killing off Thanos and then bringing in Adam Warlock, right? That makes all the fucking sense in the world, doesn't it? Marvel. That turned out to be a dud, of course, when they should have took my advice. And I'm like, dude, you got it all set up instead of making a.
That's like killing Galactus and then introducing the Silver Surfer. That's so dumb.
It's completely illogical. It's like, to me, instead of a Captain Marvel movie, and I'm not saying it's just because obviously I thought it was a criminal movie. Yes, it was. But to me, what made the most sense, if you really wanted to do this whole throwback thing, it should have been the Thanos origin film. And if it was a Thanos origin a film, you could have gave more perspective to your big villain. You also could have introduced all these characters that I introduced after the fact, which again, I don't get it, which is Thanos' like brother as well. Again, you do that after the fact. For some reason, you do Adam Warlock after the fact. For some reason, this is all stuff that could have been hell. You could even did Marvel properly, considering that he was Thanos' first big adversary. There, you could have did all that in basically one film. It would have made sense. You would have set the scene going into this massive end game. but you neglected to do that. Instead, you put in a pointless movie to a character that really had no bearing on the fucking outcome of the. She was the only reason why she was there was to just show off just how strong I guess she was, because she's in at the beginning of the film and then she's at the end of it, right? I'm talking Endgame. This.
Yeah,
and it's like that's it, but it doesn't have like really a big bearing like on the outcome. Like she was supposed to be this uber important character, and really it was almost like she was added after the fact. Like they just put her in there just to be in there, because like I said, outside of her getting what she got punched by fucking Thanos, right? Which I think everybody loved. Outside of that, that was it. She has no fucking bearing on the outcome of this.
And it's ridiculous that she doesn't. It's absolutely ridiculous that she does.
Considering how they set it up, like that was what.
I mean, I'm glad they dialed it down. But like, I refuse to call her Captain Marvel anymore. She is now forever female Captain Marvel. That's what she is. I should have called her that from the get-go. She's female Captain Marvel. She is not Marvel. She is female Captain Marvel. It's just a derivative, gender swap again. Carol Danvers is Miss Marvel.
Yes.
And this was all stemming from the comics. They wanted to give Marvel a Superman in the comics, and they just had the bright idea to make a Captain Marvel character as a female version that's never caught on. We did like Miss Marvel, as a team member of the Avengers. She had a solo book for a little while, and it was respectable.
Frank Cho did that one, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, well, those covers sold that damn book. Same with She-Hulk. Let's just be real; they were pinup covers. But it's a shame that they just went to that and went so hard into that and Miss Marvel and ignored things like Ghost Rider. Ignored things like the X-Men. So stupid. Canceled the Fantastic Four book. Remember when they canceled the Fantastic Four book? They canceled the Fantastic Four. The book that started the Marvel comics that we know today. They canceled it.
Marvel's first family. There's no way around it. They show them no fucking respect whatsoever. Hell, they for sure don't show it in the comics now, and they don't show it publicly. With well, let's say this: the lack of care for any of that project or product is just so apparent, man, and it's just unfortunate because there were a lot of things, including the Fantastic Four, and you could see you have to have an eye for it. Like me and you could sit here and talk these ideas. Like, well, you introduced this character, that could have been your segue into this arc or whatever, and that ear, right, isn't like. Or that eye, excuse me, is not there. They don't even have that perspective. It feels like they just got a bunch of guys that I don't know, man. To me, it feels like Marvel, whoever just handing them a fucking piece of paper. Hey, this is the character. This is what they look like. Just fucking have at it. Go figure it out. And
the memo they got, Eric, was Marvel's too white, DC's too white. We need to make it less white. That's what they. I mean, that's just the fact, and that they bent over backwards to make things less white instead of creating new characters. Remember when we mentioned that was considered a racist position to say create new characters. You know what? You really believe in this stuff? I'm down to meet a new character. Put the finances behind it, put the time behind it, put the best talent on it. We have proven that in the past. Alan Moore gets a hold of Swamp Thing, right? Turns it into a seminal book. Frank Miller gets a hold of this blind superhero in a red costume and turns it into one of the greatest, or the greatest book of all time. You put the right creative people behind it. John Byrne completely revamps Superman and Fantastic Four all within a few years. I mean, just like, you get the right writer on the right project and it doesn't matter. And that they don't believe in that. That's why it is the bigotry of the lowest expectations. Absolutely. That's what it is. As you said, here's some hand-me-downs. Feel better, marginalized person. Fuck off. Somebody did fucking go fuck yourself. Call me marginalized piece of shit. It's fat noodle arm comic creator calling me marginalized. Kiss my ass.
It's so fucking bizarre, man. And it's like, I guess maybe that's why I hate it so much. I mean, going to your points, and some people I saw in the chat. By the way, I see you, Jeremy. D.J. Cole was in the chat. Shout out.
What's up, Jeremy?
This whole, for a while, we would talk about comics as well as the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the needless, be race swaps, sexuality swaps or gender swaps, yada yada, whatever. And we would talk about that. And yeah, you were called racist, you were called whatever, sexist, whatever fucking buzz terms they want to call it. And it's like, you know, we'd say, like, dude, nobody has a fucking problem with a character being of that ilk, like a black character or a black female character, or fucking, like, just fucking try to be creative and don't just try to take a character and say, hey, I'm gonna just change the color a little bit and wow, bam, here you go. Now
here's gay character who's going to be gay, doing gay things all the time. Well, it's like, well,
yeah,
that's
exactly. Well, that's the hyper emphasis, right? It's that's the leading factor with the character. I mean, that's why they're so uninterested, so uninteresting. But you know, even you look at the birth of obviously the Rippaverse, where you know we're not creating based on another property, right? Like this is all fucking brand new, and there's these characters that people like. There are various whatever races, all this bullshit we don't lead with it. Who cares? Because it's not important to those characters. But it shows, like, dude, people will get fucking behind some stuff as long as it's interesting. As long as it's fucking interesting, they'll get behind it. But don't insult them. You can't just insult them and say, hey, definitely in this day and age, look, I'm supposed to believe, because they've argued me up and down, these guys are the most creative fucking people in the world, right? They're for better than me. That's what I'm supposed to believe. And the best they can come up with is just the character that we're already familiar with. And now they're trans. Fuck. Like, are they interesting? No. Yeah, they're just trans now. Now Connor's fucking trans. Now Tim Drake's gay.
Tim Drake is the absolute worst. I mean, I thought Iceman was the worst. Tim Drake's is the worst. Okay.
Well, specifically because of what they just came like the heels they came off of, right? With, you know, they really went in and emphasized the whole Stephanie Brown and Tim Drake thing, and then we're supposed to believe that now he's just
she made him gay.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, maybe it's her, right? She just turned him, like, we're supposed to fucking believe that.
And I know this gets talked about a lot, but if you go back and look at some of the stuff from a few years ago, because I was just going over it. Let's not forget Captain America was a Nazi. Tony Stark died at the hands of Captain Marvel, who was imprisoning American citizens illegally. They made Iceman gay, but it was Jean Grey. Jean Grey, I mean, if you read that, she used her powers to make him gay.
Literally.
Yes.
Literally, that's what happened out of that whole shit. And
which is horrifying. That should be the most horrifying. Jean has worse than anything Phoenix ever did. Okay.
And it's the thing, like, it's funny. Hey, I used to be such a fan of the character and all this. It's like, I don't know if you've been reading that stuff. Well, I hope not, Gary. Like the stuff that was happening out of Krakoa. I remember when I was still reading it, I was covering it. Now that they're on Krakoa, they got their own fucking the X-Men, mutants got their own fucking island and shit, and they're doing a thing. And dude, every other fucking panel, right? Iceman is kissing up on some fucking dude. Like, and so he's like flamboyantly gay now. Like he's like stereotypical. He walks around in ice high heels and shit. And I'm like, what? Like I'm supposed, so I'm supposed to erase the last fucking 50 years, right? Or 40 years or whatever. And I'm supposed to believe that none of that shit took place. And now he's the same character. He's just now been revealed that he's gay. I'm like, he wasn't doing that shit before. It's a same thing. If you go look at some of those recent panels, right, with Tim Drake, he's like flamboyantly fucking gay. Like, and I was like, that's not who he was, man. Like, that's not the character. It's just, that's who he is now. It's who he is now. That's who you've made him into. You can't sit up here and say, like what Mags was trying to do in there. Well, they were always this way. Right? He of course, he was a lesbian, right? Because he wore a fucking leather jacket.
He liked girls.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
I don't care what he dressed like. He liked girls.
Yeah.
Well, maybe lesbians dress like dudes. You ever think about that? Mags? Yeah. You ever notice that a lot of lesbians look like 14-year-old kids? Because
that's a good point. It's a good point.
So maybe they're dressing like dudes because they like chicks, which is fine, by the way. Whatever. Mags is a moron. You could Mags is a moron. I think that Mags is like so many mental health issues that are now being made 1,000 times worse by being pandered because it's being pandered to by a bunch of people who are just like scared to death of it. They're scared. They're like, I will give you whatever I want. Just don't cancel me.
Don't call us
Bunch of
transphobic, please.
Cowards.
Yeah.
Bunch of freaking ballless cowards. And now, your industry's dead because you were cowards. You didn't fight for it. You didn't fight for it.
That's true.
You didn't say, hey, I know we want women. We want all kinds of people to read comic books, but the people who still mostly read comic books are guys. We don't want to alienate the guys who pay all our salaries. But you know what? These geniuses who operate completely on their feelings thought that was a better idea.
True.
And now they're paying the price. And oh, well, what sucks is there's a lot of collateral damage with comic shops. I'm sure you covered Joe Field, even putting it out there that he's, he's been in the business a long time, but I know Joe Field loves comic books.
Mm-hmm.
He loves comic books. He loves his customers. He runs a good shop. He's a nice man. For him to even throw it out there, that's bad. And we've already lost, Meltdown. We lost that big shop in New York. We've lost a lot of shops over the last few years.
Comics have never
more
been
than
better,
half.
Gary. Never been
Comics
better.
have never
Thriving.
been better at fucking up their own industry. They've never been better. That's true.
It's true. That's a good point. They have never been better. And like anybody could see the writing on the wall. And look, I'm a solution oriented man. For me, I think the first part of being able to fix an issue is you have to identify it properly. And I think that's what I don't want to say that they don't know that it's happening. It's more that I guess they thought they could speak it into existence, that it wasn't, even though everybody fucking see it. Right. So it's like, maybe
absolutely
if I
right.
convince ourselves, or I can convince other people that it's not happening, then I guess that'll just work. And that's just not how markets work. That's not how it works. I mean, I've been covering this for a very long time, and I looked over all the data, even myself, that was available from Comic-Con. I'm like, guys, stop looking at fluff. Like, okay, books cost twice as much as they did years ago. Yeah, there's more money in it, right? But the unit sales are down. Like that's not my opinion. Like the fact of the matter is that the unit sales of the books are fucking down.
They're down, and the floppy sales are so bad we don't know what they are. They won't report them.
So it was last year in April was the last time Diamond made their shit public. If it was doing great, they wouldn't stop fucking telling us, right? Let's just be completely honest. So them, Penguin Random House, nor does Lunar. Right now, nobody fucking knows really how. I mean, we know, we kind of know, but we don't know, right? Because they don't make their numbers public. The best that people are trying to do is trying to gather some like point of sales and stuff like that. But as far as numbers that are being pushed, we don't even have access to those because they're not making them public. And I wonder fucking why. I wonder why all of a sudden that they don't want to do that anymore.
Same reason streaming services don't make their numbers public. Because they're low.
Yes.
If you have a comic book that sells 1 million, no variants, we sold 1 million comic books, man, they'd be wearing t-shirts, they'd be flying flags from their building, having parades. They'd tell everybody.
That's true. But they're not, because that's not what's happening. And that's the part I think that gets lost in all of this. It's like, dudes, people like myself, people like Gary, of course we would love nothing more than for this industry to be in a great spot and thrive, right? We would love that to be the case, but it's not. And we have to be honest with ourselves if the course is to correct. And I don't think it's going to correct it. Well, let's say this. It's not going to be funneled through the mainstream. If comics are to bounce back, it will be through more of an independent state. It's not going to look, the mega corporate entities doesn't really even allow. It's funny you mentioned corporatism earlier. Like, I think that structure really doesn't even allow them to pivot to make it make sense, right? It's too many middlemen, too many fuckers that got their hand in the cookie jar. They can't do it. So in the event that there is going to be a fundamental change, it's going to come from the folks like ourselves to make something happen, and it's going to look a lot different. You know, we talked about this same thing with fucking the like movies. It's going to look different. It's not, the demand might not change, but as it operating the way that it did is not going to be like that. And maybe we get over it and maybe we move forward. You know what I mean? And we just try to come up with something. I don't see what the problem is there. I mean, yeah, maybe people that were in positions that they had no business being in, maybe they are going to be very protective. And that's what I see. I don't know what it is that you see. I won't speak for you. But to me, The reason why I think people are so protective of the Marvels and DCs of the world is because on the other side of this more decentralized industry, they have questions about what spot it is that they have, if one at all. There is only a couple of entities, the Marvels, the DCs of the world, that can afford to pay people and lose money. Right? Even for like Marvel and DC, they're all attached to these massive parent companies that make a lot of fucking well, I won't say make a lot of money. Not as of late. They've been losing a lot as of late, for sure. But you get what it is that I'm saying. In some way, shape, or form, they can. Then this is really the only reason why they found it valuable. Hell, I'd encourage people. I did a video not too long ago talking about the history of the comic book industry, and I would encourage people to even look into the whole Toy Biz shit, you know what I mean, and how they bailed out fucking Marvel. People found more value in them being an IP farm as opposed to just making books, and this is why the publications aren't as profitable, right? But that can be attractive if I'm some talentless fucking hack, right? Yeah, it's attractive for some entity that can afford to lose in terms of its publication, because we don't really know what their number. Yeah, they're public companies, but we don't get the breakdown of like the publication. We don't really get that. We don't really get. I mean, we get a little bit of it from IDW, and the numbers that we get aren't really good. It's, hey, printing costs went up $300,000, and we just lost a fucking million. That's what we generally get. Story's probably very similar when it comes to like the Marvels and the DCs of the world, though we don't get numbers that are that public, right? Because publication isn't what they focus on. It's just an IP farm. So if I'm them and I'm a talentless hack, I'm like, fuck. Of course I'm gonna fight like hell, even if you're being abused.
Oh yeah,
yeah. I'm gonna fight like hell. They're the only people that'll hire me. And even then, like, are you gonna get paid? It's like it's Stockholm syndrome. It's essentially what it is. You're addicted. You're like, hey, I know these guys are abusing me. # comics broke me.
Oh,
but they're the only ones that hire me. They're the only ones that bring me. If they go down, and we've seen it. I've seen creatives have to be humbled because they detach themselves from the mainstream and they try to do their own shit, be it in crowdfunding, and it does okay, maybe. Sometimes it doesn't do good at all. And they're realizing very quick, like, oh shit, I don't attach myself to this major entity. How the fuck am I gonna eat? Because I can't eat retweets, I can't eat Eisners, I can't eat cosigns from my peers. And I think that's why so many of these guys are like, well, we have to. Yeah, we're being abused. Yeah, our pay rates suck. Yeah, we don't get paid really on time. But they'd rather it exist than it not, because at least there's somebody that can afford to pay them even when they make bad product.
Yes, it gives them a net. It gives them a false net, but it gives them a net. And if you're talented, you're going to get work everywhere.
Dixon, shout out.
Yeah, you're fine. But even with some of the biggest talent nowadays, you're so attached to Batman or whatever you worked on that when you do go out there, you see the reality of like how much your name,
you're not the draw, bro,
is worth. And it's a crushing reality. There's also this ego thing where, as much as these people pretend to hate corporations, they really need them to validate their existence.
Oh yeah.
I tell you, I saw that in Hollywood when I worked at Technicolor, man. People were like, I work at Technicolor. That name badge meant a lot to people. And I'm like, dude, you're working with me on the night shift, cleaning up shitty videos. That's what you're doing. We're the fry cooks of the entertainment industry, all right? It's like, get over yourself, all right? Jesus. That's I saw that. And man, people would, and that's how Hollywood for so long has been able to pay people shit. If I hate unions. Unions are gay. I completely agree with you. If there's anybody who needs some kind of work collective bargaining, it's post-production, because they get screwed. But you know what? They screw themselves. The corporation's going to be the corporation. The scorpion and the frog. There's so many post-production people. There's so many comic artists. There's so many creative people who will take that work, who will work for free, or take a pay cut because they were attached to Disney. They're attached to Universal. And they know this. They're going to take advantage of it. Hell yeah. If you're dumb enough to go in there and negotiate yourself a shitty deal, The company's not going to go, wow, you're really negotiating yourself a shitty deal. You know what? That's the company doing what it's supposed to do. You're supposed to go in there and know your worth and say no.
Yeah.
If you mean no.
True.
And no union's going to protect you from that, by the way. It's just another you're just getting paid less and you have another boss.
That's a good
Ask
point.
half of the actors who are currently striking right now who the union's not going to protect. They're members of the union. And I think this is my theory, Eric. I think the union lets in other people for SAG and WGA. So when they do strike, it looks like they have thousands of people out there, but it's usually just the extras who really aren't part of the union, aren't getting shit out of this deal at all. You know, it's just numbers. It's just numbers. So, and comics has been such a tiny niche industry for so long. It should always have been, and it has been. Ask Chuck. It's a gig economy. Chuck goes from gig to gig. Been doing that for decades. And you just get used to it. I mean, YouTube is a gig economy.
Absolutely.
It is video by video.
100%.
And you start to get used to it. It can probably fill you with anxiety but that's just the way it is. That's how life is. So the comic book industry killed itself. It killed itself. And now Marvel's killing itself. And now, Mags Visaggio between pitches is throwing up GoFundMes to pay its rent. And you see big names putting up Kickstarters that are doing 25% of what your number 2 book did.
Yeah, true.
And these are big names, and it's reality. In the meantime, manga takes up 35 shelves in my local Barnes and Noble compared to 4 or 5 of American comics. It's pretty sad.
It's fucking sad, man. And this seeing something like that, it really shows just how, the competitive spirit of Americans, just kind of the West in general, really is just fucking went away. Because I just couldn't imagine Jim Shooter in the 80s seeing the Japanese come kick their ass, and Jim Shooter's gonna be like, yeah, well, we'll just bend over and fucking take it. Fuck it. I just couldn't see it. I couldn't see it happen. I feel like there will be some pushback, like, hey guys, we have to fucking get in step. Like, let's get it. And well, to be fair, that's like kind of what he did. It wasn't because necessarily the Japanese. But,
and people hated him for it.
Yeah,
I think Chuck hates him.
Chuck was like, well, Chuck told me, he was like, hey, look, he did his job. He's supposed to keep the wheels on the track. And people despise them because you have creative people. They got egos, right?
Yeah.
And they feel like, well, I should be able to do whatever the fuck I want. Jim Shooter's like, this is a business, bro.
It's a business. Yeah.
This is a fucking business.
You got to keep those artists in line. It's like herding cats.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Creative people is like herding cats. They're very sensitive. Okay. And they're not very good at the whole work ethic thing, with few exceptions. They have to, you have to be a therapist half the time with a lot of them. It didn't used to, like, there was more people like Chuck, the lunch pail types, going to take my lunch pail into work and making my comic books and be really good at it, like Graham. And Kelly Jones is out there. But it's just not the way anymore. Now we had the rock star era with Image, and after that they just became like, not that they were perfect before, but they came a bunch of prima donnas. Yeah. Which I'm fine. If you have work to back it up, be a prima donna. Yeah. Take all your green M&Ms out of the M&Ms. I don't give a shit as long as you're good. But then we got this crop who were prima donnas before they proved anything. And remember Vita Ayala talking about that X-Men book with the body positive fucking Banshee, and it was all derivative characters like female Cyclops.
Yeah. I remember that.
And she's like, and then one of them is a Zoomer who does TikTok videos. I'm like,
I remember that. So because she had the I remember that.
That's the thing that did get printed, and it also was it was announced like the same week as Snowflake and Safe Space.
Yeah. They were all in on that shit. And Vita Ayala, I mean, she might have. I don't want to say she might have. I hate to say it, but you want to talk about killing any momentum. First of all, the DC fandom thing didn't look good for a whole Milestone reboot either. And all the dumb shit that they were saying, fucking watching Jim Lee get pissed on, like going back and forth. That guy has no nutsack whatsoever.
No.
But she might have single-handed. I mean, you're talking issue 0, bros. It was her bright idea to make Static's origin change, right? or if it didn't come from her, it was a book. I don't know if it came from maybe a higher up said, hey, we need to do this. And now, instead of him getting it in like a gang war, right? It's his Big Bang and all that shit happening like it did originally, as far as him getting his power. He gets it from a Black Lives Matter protest.
That's right.
I could not imagine. I'm from the get-go. This is big guy. This is why if people are wondering why nobody's talking about this shit anymore, and basically effectively that Milestone reboot was a dud. It was a dud. It was dead on arrival. And by the people in my chat, like, what? Yes, that happened.
That it happened. And you know what? They can now upgrade his powers by giving him a motorized hang glider powers. Do you think they'll do that? You know, because considering what they just backed up, yeah, not looking so good now, is it?
Parachutes. Maybe,
where's that clip? They are who we thought they were. The Raiders are who we thought they were.
They are who we thought they were.
Yep.
Dennis Green. Yeah.
Dennis Green, man.
RFP. But yeah, it's but yeah, like that happened. That actually happened. I'm not even joking. That literally happened. And I mean, you can imagine just fucking like killing any sort of momentum that you thought you were gonna have with the Milestone kind of reboot.
It was the Bears. Sorry.
Yeah,
Correction.
yeah.
Sorry, it's been 20, 30 years since I saw that clip. The Bears are who we thought they were. Yes.
We let them off the hook.
We let them off the hook.
But yeah, Static and doing, but no, that just goes to show like everything's about them, and they will ruin a character. If they have to, because it's about them and their individual views and all of their fucking social views. They just can't get over it, which is just so intriguing to me, because I look at it from the writer's perspective. Like, I don't sit here and try to write these characters. It doesn't matter who it is. I don't sit here and try to write these characters to fit me. I mean, fucking shit. The next book that we're about to produce is effectively a big superhero kind of police procedural. That sounds like very ANCAP. Probably not, right? But that's what it is, right? Because we're trying to entertain people, right? This is what it is that we're attempting to do. We're trying to entertain people first and foremost, and there's room for all of that shit in our universe. We don't lead with any. I don't give a fuck about anybody's. Like, I don't care about none of that shit. Like, let's leave it at the door. My only requirement, as I always say, is just don't be a hack. You can work for the Riververse, so as long as you're not a fucking hack. All that other shit, I don't care about. Let's just make good material. And I think that's their approach. That's just not the general approach with the mainstream comic book industry. Hell, mainstream entertainment industries, really, because they've all been infiltrated. They've all been ideologues that are just totally obsessed with every individual political, social view it is that they have, and they are going to beat you. They can't not do it. They have to beat you over the head with their individual political views or social views, and it sucks. It just makes for bad art. It makes for bad fucking entertainment. That's what it's always been. So in a minute, guys, we're going to get to this other story, a major story that kind of broke yesterday. It's huge. It's big.
It's huge.
Big league is what it is.
Big Lee. It's a Big Lee story.
We're going to cover that here in a little bit. But I have a mountain of fucking super chats that I need to fucking fly through, and I know some of these probably mentioned Gary as well.
Oh, the problems Eric has. Starting to sound like Jeremy.
I know the problems that I have of reading mountains of super chats.
You guys are awesome, by the way, out there in the chat roasting me. Listen, okay, just real quick, Eric.
Yeah.
I gave up on football in 2017, but I watched NFL. I watched every game. I didn't miss Charger games. My NFL knowledge was peak. I could have won any trivia contest. I was there for drafts, everything. And when the Chargers left San Diego, I gave it up. I've been out of practice. But it's really easy to stop giving a fuck about something once they do that final thing, like ripping your team out of your city, ripping your heart out of your chest. It's terrible. It's terrible. I bled blue and gold. I was a lifelong Charger fan. I was a season ticket holder. I drove from San Francisco every fracking weekend to go see a game.
Yeah.
I'd watch them, I'd go to Raider games in my Charger gear in Oakland. Okay. Yeah.
Ballsy. I respect that.
Yeah.
I respect that. But yeah, it is. It is very easy once you let. That's how it was. I know I had to look my local comic book shop in the eye, said everything that's on that pull list, take it the fuck off.
That's crazy. That's a crazy, and Az and I did that as well. Like right at the same time, right when they went after, right when Tom King went after Jay Lee, that was like the straw that broke the camel's. That was enough. I'm like, I'm done with these people. I'm not giving them any of my money. Yeah. Screw this. They don't deserve it. That was a horrible, horrible thing to do.
Yeah.
And you're right. Yeah, you know, lifetime collector. Your comic shop probably shed a tear.
Yeah.
You know, because that dude, that's
like, what can they do? They're not the ones making the fucking books. You know what I mean?
So, but like, you know, $200, $300 a week just walked out the door. That is a big fucking deal to a comic shop.
Absolutely. 100%. And you put it, well, like that's what I was spending, guys. Literally hundreds of fucking dollars every Wednesday. And I was there every fucking morning, get my shit. And even if it was a chore to read, I was there, but it got to a point that and I think that's significant, guys. You don't look at it like, well, we just stopped. It's like, no, you're talking about lifers that for them, as difficult as it may be for them, as it had been in the past, to drop it, it got so bad that lifers said, you know what? I'm fucking done. I'm fucking done. Like, I cannot do this anymore. That is a very significant thing. Man, I think a lot of people out there that are lifers did that. Okay. Flying through these super chats. Butter Biscuit with a Tuesday. Shout out to Gary for being late twice. No. That was on me. I actually sent him the link like late, and then we were chatting, doing other shit pertaining to uploading video. We're doing all kinds of stuff in the background because work doesn't stop. Kind of when you're us.
I could be late twice in a day, maybe 3 times.
We got Jez with a SEK 20. Says it's okay, Ripper. We all blame Gary. I guess Gary, he says with a flag. I guess for being late. Eric D. Jones was my nemesis. There he is. Says Gary, you fiend. I never thought I'd see my nemesis and my other greatest enemy in one place. You will both fall under the might of Disney. What is Thank you, Eric D. June.
I wonder, Eric D. June, have you talked to not Tim Pool? Who shows up on our Forbidden Frontier?
Yeah.
And he's got like a very similar mustache, but doesn't have an eye patch.
Eric D. June. It's always great to have my nemesis, Eric D. June, around. Okay, we got Kyle with a 5. Says, if trans women are women, then why does DC have to label them as trans and not a woman? EA did this with Apex Legends character. It's true. It's true.
It's true.
I mean, that's a good point. So
I think the easy answer, Kyle, is they're transphobes.
Yeah, that's yeah, exactly. Why would they make that disclaimer? Gorilla Mar with a 2 says, good X-Men comic series to get started with. I mean, well, you can't go wrong with fucking the original shit by any means. Or Claremont era is always going to be what people point to as the fucking kind of definitive, not just them, New Mutants, all that shit. So that was in the 80s.
Start at giant size X-Men #1. Go find whatever the milestone editions. I would say if you just want to read, go find the essentials. It's great. They're not colored, but you get a lot of issues for next to nothing. I mean, it's very cheap if you just want to read them. If you want to collect, I'd say the same thing. Go with giant size X-Men #1 and move up from the Cockrum, Claremont, Byrne, Claremont era. Nothing is better. Nothing.
That's very true. Very true. CJ with a 5 says, hell, Ripper, hell, Gary. Would love a comic stream with you two as Saska Sisters and Chuck. That would be a fucking massive stream.
That'd be cool.
But I'll be down. I'm sure the Saskas, they are in the chat. I see them. Shout out.
Hey.
So yeah, that could very well be a thing. Okay. We have Isaac with a 2 says Batman / Robin Hood. Like, what do we? That was probably during a certain part of the conversation that I just don't remember. Isaac, shout out with your little one with the Ripperverse hat. I love that. There, shout out.
I like that.
We have Memorable Virus with a 20. Says, I watched the One Piece video over and over yesterday. It's my favorite video you've ever made, Gary. The amount of passion, gratitude, and humility expressed by Cass was a breath of fresh air in a sea of crap. Thank you. Yeah, man, it's good. Doing videos like that, it's awesome. It's a nice little change of pace for guys like us. You kind of got to find that diamond in the rough, and it seems like One Piece for a lot of people is exactly that. But I do think it's important to understand why that is the case and why it worked. I think is as important. But I don't expect Hollywood. Hell, I don't expect Netflix to even learn from that. To be completely honest,
I don't know if we'll find out if the creators actually know how they did it.
that's
okay.
True.
And
Or they just kind of stumbled across it and it just worked.
I love Peter Jackson, love him to death. Lightning in a bottle, but there's a lot of outside factors that force you into like making Lord of the Rings the greatest trilogy of all time. He went off and made The Hobbit. I like it, but I know it's bad. I know it's bad. I do. But it's also 10 years later. So we'll see with season 2. We'll see. But as far as season 1 goes, a lot of passion went into it. The creator was involved. They didn't really change anything that changed it out of the spirit of what the anime and manga I think it is, because listen, fans complain. Some people are saying it's mid, but I haven't heard anybody say it's outright terrible. Yeah, which is pretty incredible. An anime manga fan saying something's mid is it's pretty normal.
That means it's got to be fucking
yeah,
solid.
it's pretty normal.
Everything's average. It's kind of how the industry is there. We have best name I can think of. Actually, same guy. He just gifted 5 memberships. I appreciate that. Welcome all the new members. We got Crit Nature with CHF10 says, "Hell, Eric and Gary, I'm looking to buy some Fantastic Four back issues. Never read them or Marvel in general. Where should I start? Can you recommend a series with a badass storyline?"
Let me get the number for you. I'll get a number for you, John. This will be cheaper. So you're going to want to go back after this, right? Fantastic Four back issues are generally not like buying X-Men back issues, right? They're a lot cheaper. That's a shame. 232. 232. You probably get that for a couple bucks. Depends on where you are. $5, a couple bucks. And when you get back issues, if you're doing it to read and you're just starting, get the lower grades. Go ahead and don't get those high grade stuff yet. Go for the VGs, and you'll get a good comic book that's still in one piece that you can read. That's what I did. When my collecting started with, I got crappy comic books that were barely put, and then I traded up as time went on.
There you go.
Never dove in on the mint first because I couldn't afford it. Start there, and then you can go back. You can start going back. Fantastic Four is the most pure comic book to ever have existed. It is pure. It is perfect for its medium.
Oh, there you go. There you go, Crit Nature. Appreciate you. Got Noah Sprague Studios with a 10. Says, "Hey, Gary, I'm trying to look for the Wolfman Perez Teen Titan floppy issues. Where will you recommend a comic noob try and find back issues?" I will recommend them because they're good friends of the show, of us. And I will say this as they actually, and I'm announcing this, so they're probably about to sell out. ISOM 1 and 2, cover A and cover B. You can get that at mycomicshop.com right now. So mycomicshop.com is one I'm going to always recommend because I know those guys personally. They're here. Based out of Texas, right up the road. We have a great relationship with them over the Riververse. They're a huge fan of what it is that we do, and they do have, again, ISOM number 1 and 2 right now. If you missed out on A and B, they actually have it available over at mycomicshop.com. So go check that out. But they also have a bunch of other comics. Even back when they were Lone Star back here. These guys been around.
Yeah, they've been around a while, long time,
man. So I love those guys to death. And they have a fucking ton of. I've been to their facility, man. Like they got vaults, bro. Literal vaults of fucking just old shit.
The more books they have, the better your prices will be.
Yeah.
Their overhead isn't the same because they don't have. It's not like a shop situation. And again, they've been around a long time. And yeah, I would try them depending on where you are. You want to support your local guy or gal too. But as far as Texas goes, there you go. And then if you're in California, SoCal Comics. If you're in San Diego,
there you go. So shout out Noah CJ with a 5 says, "Any F&T Riververse meetups on horizon? I would love to do stuff like, I can't say that we've been planning one, but obviously, we love to do some shit like that. Teaming up and doing some big meetup with you guys would be fucking awesome.
I imagine Dallas is a possibility again.
Sure,
We
sure.
are looking, and I'll just talk to you about it right now.
All right, let's do
Is
it.
it cool?
Fuck it. Let's fucking do it. Let's fucking
We're
do
going
it.
to LA Comic Con, and you are definitely invited. Okay,
Okay.
so we have confirmed panels at LA Comic Con. You are most definitely wanted there, invited there.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So there you go.
Okay, cool. But yeah, obviously Dallas, that's easy for everybody here just
Yep.
because all of us is kind of around. So that's an easy thing. But yeah, there you go. There you go. And it's good to see as always, CJ. We got Ministry of Wrong Think says with a 10 says brand gaslights the idea fans have to see themselves in character. Straight male fans don't relate to gender, race swap character and reject brand. Brand surprise, Pikachu face. Yeah, that's kind of the circle of life or circle of
Hey,
argument.
Eric, I wonder how many comic book readers could truly identify with Daredevil.
Yeah.
Just a question.
I mean, Braille, I guess, is a fucking thing.
Sure. But you know where they can? You know why they've read him? Because he's kind of Marvel's punching bag. We love him. There's a lot of Catholics out there.
Yeah.
He's Catholic. He's got the tortured guilt, but doesn't quit. He's the man without fear. That's one of his most badass aspects of Daredevil is he is overmatched in almost everything, but has just guts and will, and that's why we like that character.
Yeah.
But
obviously,
yeah,
all
yeah.
walks of life likes that character and,
But he can't see.
various other ones. You know, so well, they to them, if the character doesn't adopt everything about you, then he's unrelatable. And I think that is a shallow way to view human beings. I'm not white, and well, I guess I've gotten a little more money than I have had in the past. But Batman being my favorite character, I almost said I'm not white and rich. The rich thing, I kind of can't say that anymore. But I can at least say that I'm not white. And I'm very. It's been my favorite.
What?
Character.
Wait a minute. What?
Well, I know breaking news, guys.
I gotta go.
Breaking news. I am not a white man. But there I am relating to other characters. American Legend with a 385 says proud of his community and its creators. Thank you. Shout out to you, man. Thank you. We got Scotty with a 5 says, as yesterday's stream as a Ripperverse bad guy, how about Kingpin's Yorkshire cousin Dingaling Finn? Okay. And hell,
Dude, I don't know if you ever seen the thumb that I use for real BBC, but they have as kind of as the Kingpin. It looks
yeah, I have
pretty dope.
Pretty
it looks
sick.
really.
Yeah, on some of the posters too. Yeah, it's pretty sick.
Great.
Yellow Flash, what's up, Doc? Says,
what's up, Flash?
Says,
hey, you're in my One Piece video. Sorry to dox you, bro.
So fans said we want a Fantastic Four movie like the comics. Disney's best we can do is Girl Boss Sue Storm leading the team. Look, I put out a bet long ago, years ago. You guys can watch it. It is live. Where I bet this company. I said, "Hey, man, how much you want to fucking bet that they will not? There is no fucking way. If we do eventually ever get to Fantastic Four, you're not getting a straight white functional family. It's not fucking happening. They either will be all race swapped." Or there will be a race swap version of one of the characters, sexuality swap or whatever it's going to be, or there's going to be some severe dysfunction there. But they cannot have a functional, straight white family be a thing. It's just not. It's not current year enough. It's just not at all. So good luck. I'll be very surprised if they did that, but it's not happening. Nathan with a 5 says for the Fantastic Four, they are going to turn Johnny Storm into a black man who was adopted. Oh wait, Fox already did that. That's true. They just
they did.
They just need to I guess Game of Thrones it. Yeah, they've already shown you that they 100% will do that. Naruto with a 5 says just saw the Best Buy has announced they're going to end carrying physical media next year, like games and stuff.
Films. I think they're going to keep games.
Oh, okay.
They're going to keep games. That's. I mean, not that I've gone into a Best Buy unless I absolutely had to, but that's sad. I've rebuilt mine. Like I had, had some hard times about 10 years ago. So I had a huge physical media collection. I had to go to Amoeba and sell a bunch of it, and I've been slowly building back up. And we're getting like these artisanal, like 4K discs that are really freaking cool. That sucks. Physical media is the only way to go, man. Only way to go.
Oh yeah, man.
Even if it's crappy 40p at some point, at least you're gonna get.
Yeah, you're gonna get it at some point. At least it's gonna be lost, or the version that you are able to get will be fucking.
They're already editing stuff.
Yeah.
It's sad. It's
Yeah.
sad. Like to where it's gotten so bad, even like a lot of people who are extremely liberal in Hollywood are like, wait a minute. It's like, well, this is what happens when you appease and let the wolf in the door.
True. That's
They
how it
never
happens.
stop. They
Every
never
time.
stop.
It'll never be enough. That's just how it works.
Yep.
Beetle Johnson gifting 5 subs. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. You got Lord of the Realm, 13 months, says, need Alpha in my life already. Tired of reading garbage. I know Chuck is going to kill it. Yes, that is right around the corner. I think it's something that we're going to be able to pull off within the next month. It's just a matter of timing, and we're cleaning up website stuff because holy shit, that's going to be a massive release. We know that it's going to be a massive release, and we don't want our site crashing. So we are right now in the process of training our Guatemalan steroid hamsters that are going to run our servers. So yeah,
Dan Vask.
I'm sorry. Damn.
Gay Guatemalan hamsters or Dan Vask?
Dan Vasquez was in the chat. Shout out. I saw you earlier, actually, by the way. But yes, we are training our Guatemalan hamsters to run our servers, and we will see what happens. We have Mr. Hat with a 10 says, hey, Eric, I enjoyed ISOM too. I got a comic coming out soon myself. In your opinion, what's the most the most aspect of stuff? I don't know, like maybe there was something else supposed to be the aspect, storytelling, characters, conflict. Well, both. You can't really have one with the other. Thanks, and release the original sketch. Everybody's asking for that. But yeah, I would say you really can't have one with the other. I mean, I can tell you my process. I do create, at least to launch the Riververse, I did create the characters initially before I ever wrote a story, right? I needed to know them before anybody else knew them or could learn about them. So I kind of fleshed them out. That includes especially Isom, who he is, family members, kind of main thing I'm trying to portray here. And I put all that stuff in my universe Bible. It's also an easy thing that I can send to other artists that maybe or writers that are part of various projects. So I did that long before I ever even wrote the actual story. And then I started writing the story. So as far as most important, I'm guessing that's what it is you're asking. It's both. I mean, to create a compelling, interesting character, you kind of gotta have that level of conflict, and that's the hero's journey, as we all explain. And you kind of have to know them. I think a lot of, especially indies, get caught up. Image used to get in trouble with this, trying to make the coolest character they possibly can as far as how they look. Right? They're not really interesting, but they look fucking badass, right? Like they look like, oh man, this is awesome. But there's not really a big draw there. So for a lot of people, it's I advise, if you are a writer, know your characters, understand the characters, and you can't really have one with the other. If you have a badass looking character that only one fucking artist in the world can actually do it, that's not gonna make them interesting. It's not gonna get people involved, like really in it. They may buy a cover or two, but as far as being truly invested in it, that's going to be very difficult for you to do unless you have that level of conflict. So you can't really sacrifice one or the other. So.
Boom. Hey, I have to apologize to Dan.
Yeah.
Sincerely apologize to Dan Bask. He's not a gay Guatemalan hamster. That's just what he eats.
Shout out Dan Bask. I know he said in the chat, he said, what the fuck, Gary, thought you were sober. He says
sober. Well, God, I would say sober as a judge or a priest, but we don't think much of them anymore. I don't know. I'm sober as a sober guy.
Yeah.
Dan says Gary's first prison riot was led by Spartacus. True.
With the R50, I appreciate that, Dan. Oh,
that's like 3 cents. They can buy him a gay Guatemalan hamster on a stick.
Oh man, that's so good. Shout out Dan. Kellen, what it is, I just finished ISO 2 last night. I look at tickets that my issue has some misplaced words. When I finished it, was ready for more. Can't wait for ISOM 3 and the other Riververse comics. Kellen with a 10. By the way, let me speak on this. We are releasing. There's some things happening. We all know that. There will be a great video and statement that will be released later today that I think you guys are going to be very intrigued by. ISOM 3 is fucking happening. And there's nothing
Wait.
you can fucking do.
I thought you were done.
No,
I thought
no,
I thought it was all it for Rippaverse. This is it.
No, we're not even fucking close to finish. So ISOM 3, we're like what 60 pages in.
Oh shit.
There. So yeah, me and Cliff Richards are fucking rocking and rolling. So ISOM 3, yes, we will close the arc out with ISOM 3. I can't wait for you guys to learn more about some of these characters that get introduced, as well as just kind of again wrapping this whole deal up. You got all these conflicts that Avery has had in those books. Can't wait for you to read that. So it's gonna be amazing. It's gonna be amazing, absolutely amazing. In the words of Drunk 3PO, we have best name I can think of. What a file said did. Either of you read the new universe from Marvel back in the day? I would prefer that to Echo, to be honest.
Yeah, I thought it was a good try. It just felt like I guess the sales weren't that good. That's probably why they stopped. But I thought it was a good try. It was a start of something. It wasn't my favorite thing in the world, but
yeah, appreciate that.
I think it was the precursor to a lot of other things. Who did we talk about this with? It was Mark Millar? Somebody. But it was a precursor to a lot of things that led to Image and all the other stuff.
Yeah.
Also, Epic Illustrated. I was a big fan of Epic Illustrated.
There you go. We have Victor Cruz with a 5 says, how about Storm from the X-Men, Aurora? She's a great character. Obviously,
yeah, she is.
How I feel about Storm.
Storm's a great character.
Yeah.
Absolutely great character.
Everybody knows how I feel about Lover. 32 Flavors of Nigwise with a 2 says, Marvel and DC are Dracophobics. Tim
Dracophobics,
yeah. 50 from Koali says
50
says hi, Eric Gary. Was wondering if instead of Phase 5 we got Marvel could have introduced X-Men and Fantastic Four and what they were doing during Phase 4, effectively changing them up to end-game timeline. Would that have worked? Well, look, as we just kind of talked a little bit about this, and we both kind of agree. Look, once those rights were in hand, they should have been fast-tracking both or one or the other, especially the Fantastic Four, and they didn't.
And that opens up things to a lot of new villains that I don't know if Annihilus was wrapped up in Fantastic Four rights. I would guess yes.
Mm-hmm.
I would guess yes. But now all of a sudden you have access to Doctor Doom, Galactus, Annihilus, and Magneto. Don't you think that would be better than Kang?
True.
Effing Kang?
Kang the fucking Conqueror.
So yeah, I would just be fast tracking. I make a suggestion in my video of like what they really like. Really, if I would buy them lunch, sit them down and go, here's what you do. And I don't think a comic book fan would even argue with me. True. It's like, you know what? Okay, release Deadpool 3. Fine. Release your Secret Wars. Clean up your damn mess as best you can. Full reboot. Recast your core characters. Bring back your core characters. Fuck Miss Marvel, Echo, all that shit. Captain Marvel, you go right back to Cap, Thor, Iron Man, Hulk, Fantastic Four, X-Men, and go. And they look like they do in the comic books. And it's about willingness. They are not willing to do this. They could easily do this, and it would make them money. It's like
not a rocket science. They would just have to, they just have to have people that know what the fuck they're doing and understand this material. And they have to listen to them. They have to have, look, the way I see it, I don't know if it's a prerequisite for Hollywood. This is kind of how it works. I know everybody has ego, so adopting shit that makes sense, that has source material, maybe everybody has to put their spin on it, right? It's like, yeah, it needs to be more about me, and maybe that's what this is. But they need not only to have people that know this material, but also are willing to listen, to adopt it and adapt it. They'd have to do that in order for the shit to work. So that may be a little bit of a pipe dream there, because I don't know if they have that in them, but that absolutely has to happen.
Even if they had the will to do it, which I don't think they do, they would get so much clapback from their own producers, DEI executives, whatever ones are left, going, well, there's the Oscar rules, and then there's our own internal rules about diversity that we've set up. And then there's the Hollywood. There's so many rules that they've set up that are just blocks to creativity.
True.
When you have the X-Men now, so you have most of your best female characters, actually all of your, like 99% of your best female characters, the ones you haven't jacked up, are in the X-Men and the Fantastic Four, Sue Storm.
Yep.
And Sue Storm is not a girl boss, but she's not like a weak woman
No,
either.
not at all. Not even close.
But yeah, you're not going to succeed with the Fantastic Four if Reed Richards isn't just the smartest guy anywhere in any room he walks into. And he's got to look like Reed Richards. Little gray patches right here. Brunette guy, tall, skinny. And the absolute smartest guy in the room, a little aloof once in a while because he's always thinking, like that's the way he's supposed to be, but he's the leader. He's the leader.
100%. He is Mr. Fantastic after all.
Yep. You know what I used to think he was called when I was a kid was Stretcho. When I saw, I was like, it's Stretcho. Why are they calling him Mr. Fantastic?
Jack Blues with a 5 says, was Fonzie a lesbian talking about with his leather jacket and shit? Apparently, they're all lesbians. Michael Winning with a 2. Eric critiques Marvel but can't take criticism. Well, that's not exactly true, but I do appreciate the $2. I think what happens is that I think people get very irate when I see people that act bad and I call them retarded. So I'm sorry, I can't not do that. Because I do it to Marvel too. Two's News with a 10 says, I wish comic shops would band together to form an organization to publish monthly unit. Well, there is a network that kind of has that but it's just like a handful of participating.
Yeah, it's not everybody.
Stores, so that's the closest that you're gonna get.
I can go. I still have all of my records from the store, so I could go get my records and compare them to sales of, we'll just say 2012 and 2013, my last 2 years. But that's when comics were selling really good.
Yeah,
and we could probably get a pretty good idea of like how many people were reading the comic books, which was the start of their fall, is the variants and selling the same book over and over again. Any book that's in the top 5 right now, and they claim its 100, its sales were 100,000. The true sales of what people read is probably 30,000, 35,000. It's probably 30 to 35% of that. I'm not wrong on this. So that's how dire things are. You have to trick people into buying books. I like variants. I like the little gimmicks. I love the foil covers. I love all that shit. But ultimately, you still need to write a good story.
100%.
Az has mentioned it. You've mentioned it.
100%.
I've mentioned it. There's no seminal stories anymore. Yeah. Keith Giffen, may he rest in peace, just passed away.
Okay.
One of the greatest comic book writers ever. Wrote the last great crossover that will ever be Annihilation. If you haven't read Annihilation, Razorfist tweeted about this. I've been singing its praises since I started my channel. It was written basically, do whatever the fuck you want while we're doing Civil War. We need to take the cosmic heroes, basically. We need to take Hulk and the cosmic heroes out of the equation, because this has just got to be all the Earth heroes fighting each other, basically. Hulk would have messed it up because whatever side he's on wins, and the same with the galactic heroes. So they're like, Keith Giffen, go do what you want with Annihilation. And he just created the best crossover ever. Well, in the modern era. Not ever. But it's in my top 3 forever. It's really fucking good. Yeah. You can get an omnibus of it. You can get trade paperbacks of it. The covers are freaking awesome. And as, again, Razorfish and many people mentioned, James Gunn's Guardians of the Galaxy came from that. That's where it came from. James Gunn never gives it credit, by the way. But are you surprised there? Yeah.
Not at all. Satoshi Perry with a 2 says, sent your email my link in. Thank you. I remember, you came the other day. I had to check. You came in here and you were like, you were telling me like what stuff you had worked on. I do remember that. I'll go check that out. We got Chris Frost with 1 month says, Marvel's 10-year run was the Russo's whiteboard timeline. Night Feige's. Okay, I'm out, boys. Was never here. Okay, Chris Frost. I will see you later. Appreciate you. 32 Flavors of Nick Weiser with a 2. Says huge. Yep.
Huge. What's up, Nick? Nick's a good dude.
Oh yeah, yes, man.
Big comic book fan, good dude, can hold his liquor like X-Ray Girl.
Joe King Lee with the 10 months says, Gary, Buffy stream with some of the Rippaverse crew. Says
I'm down. I'm burning through it. I gotta wait till Mama gets home tonight. Okay. And we can start watching. I know you're a huge Buffy and Angel fan and Joss Whedon fan, Eric, and I know you love to talk about this. But if any members of the crew want to join, I'm trying to get Mahler on too. I will do multiple Buffy Angel streams. Some of the best character development ever done in television ever. Whether you like Joss Whedon or not, Wesley
Jen
Wyndham.
and Sylvia all over that, so that can be our reverse representation right there.
There you go. Let's do it.
They be all over that.
Hell yeah. We just started season 4. We just started season 4, and it's freaking amazing.
Yeah, hell yeah. Okay, let me fly through these. Larry Parker with a 2 says modern cinema is that for me now, says Larry Parker. Appreciate that. Shout out, let's see, Marcus Henry with the 5 gifted subs as well as this. Says come chat with the fans of the Riververse in the Gilded. It's family love it. It's a family love it there. Yes, you can join our Gilded. We're not on Discord. We are on Gilded. It's in the description of all of our videos. So be sure to join us there. I'm sure the mods will put it in the chat as well. Go join our Gilded if you have not already. Graph Web with a 2 says, for fuck's sake, he said this yesterday. Cancel cancel Disney Plus. Corey Bloomberg.
There's no reason to keep it.
True. I haven't heard from my family in Israel in 6 days.
Oh no!
I don't like to hear that shit, man. And I'm sorry to fucking hear that, man. I hope they're fucking doing all right. I
hope they're okay.
It's a crazy fucking world out there, man. Especially now, man. But dude, I hope they're doing good, man. Hope you're doing well.
Yeah.
As, well,
they're safe and sound and
shit. That fucking sucks, dude. Turner Black with a 5 says, Gary, the last time I brought this up, I was missing 131 and 168. Today, I'm just missing a high grade Daredevil 168. So now it's 50 to 250 on my Daredevil run. Well, hell
you're looking for that first Frank Miller. Yeah, that's kind of a pricey book. I've got one, but you'll find one. That's the beauty. Like, I like going to like little conventions and hunting with my list written on paper. I'm old school, and you know what? You're going to kill me for this, Eric. I've had full runs of most of the seminal books, like complete runs. Again, hit hard times, had to sell some of them, got some of them back. But I missed collecting. They were, I'll say easier to get when you had a store, but I'm getting like weird. Well, Flash and I like to exchange non-politically correct covers in our DMs.
Yeah.
So I've been hitting the Golden Age, and it's just I don't want every Golden Age book, but I'm getting random like horrifically racist covers because they're funny. It just, dude, it's life. It's not taken that seriously. But they're bad. But like collecting it, that's the best part, is going out and just hunting around your book, hunting down your books. And as mentioned this yesterday, we all have our specialties, right? So I had a huge blind spot with like fantasy books, and now with French comics and a lot of DC. So what I've been doing is just going back and reading older DC. It's freaking rad. Like a lot of Silver Age DC I did not read. Yeah. So and it's so much cheaper than Silver Age Marvel, because they relaunched their universe a bunch of times. So their books don't mean as much as Marvel. And they aren't worth as much. So it's way easier to get old Supermans. Like, it's possible. And they're great. They're great. Dude, Golden Age Batman is a little more expensive. Those are rad books. Yeah. Those are rad books.
100%. 100%. Appreciate that, Taryn the Black. We got 31 months from my man, Chief City, and says, thank you all for watching Thursday Afternoon Tights. Says, hit the like button if you haven't. Hell yeah. Shout out Sheep, our community manager. We got a 5 from Junior JR. Says, I just got cover A of Ice on 1 from mycomicshop.com. I know as soon as I said that, people were gonna follow themselves, try to get it. Yes, they have one Ice on 1 A and B. Those are sold out covers. They are having them available there over at mycomicshop.com. So if you guys were one of they don't have many. I know I know how many they got. They don't have many. Trust me on that. So if you missed out on those, that's the main cover, of course, that I think is going to end up being one of our iconic covers, that first cover with Isom on it, as well as the cover where he's fighting Yaira. So go check that out if you have not, if you wanted to get in on that. Okay, we have Bonafide with a 5 says, hey, Gary, loved your Captain Marvel trailer reaction vids. We need Diversity Shield t-shirt ASAP, says Bonafide 1992. Bad Gamergate with a 10 Canadian says I was born somewhere in between Hulk, Stanton, Gil Kane, and Marie Severin.
Marie Severin.
Saying I'm a Hulk fan would be an understatement. I would like to know if you have a favorite Jay Jaws story. Me, no. Since fun with I will say this though, with Hulk, I didn't get into really like a lot of the Hulk stuff. That's funny. I like kind of got into more She-Hulk stuff. Obviously, we just talked about Burn and all that. Everybody's wanting to call me while I'm streaming. I appreciate you guys doing that. But yeah, it wasn't until like maybe 2000s when I like really started diving into Hulk shit in general. And by then he was just fucking shit up.
So yeah, when I was a kid, it was the Hulk at Bay, okay, because that was also a Power Records, so I could read it and hear it. So that was like my absolute favorite Hulk story. But that late 70s era with I always mispronounce his name to this day, okay, because when I was a kid, I call him, there was Sal Buscema and John Buscema. I know it's Buscema, but we called him Buscema when we were kids, and it just stuck. That whole era was fucking awesome, right up to like basically in the 160s, 150s to 200. Great era. But my favorite, Todd McFarlane's Hulk was pretty great. Dale Keown's Hulk was pretty great.
Oh, man, you can't go fucking wrong with that.
But I have to say, man, I got to go modern. If you want to say my all-time favorite Hulk story is Planet Hulk.
That's
Planet
pretty
Hulk.
modern. Yeah,
Planet Hulk is pretty modern, but it's pretty great. Yeah. It's holy crap. If you're not aware, Reed Richards sends Hulk away, right? Because the Civil War is coming, and he was supposed to send him to a peaceful planet, and things go awry, and it's basically Conan Hulk.
Yep.
Oh, Planet Hulk is not overrated. What happens at the end is freaking.
Yeah.
And at least the World War Hulk. Yeah.
Speaking of Hulk, one of the stories that a lot of people liked of him, it was recent Immortal Hulk. That artist who was wrongfully fucking taken off of those projects and thrown under the bus by the writer, Joe Bennett, is the artist of Alpha Core. So some great work. Be sure
the Immortal Hulk was like a good concept, but that's all.
Yeah. I've said a million times. Art was obviously Joe Bennett's fucking art. I mean, you can't go wrong with that. But yeah, I'm on record saying this a million times. I didn't really understand what the great appeal was there, because a lot of people were like, "Yeah, it's the best." I mean, they loved it, and I was like, I guess all right for what it is. It was trippy as fuck though. Let's continue on real quick and fly through these. Marcus with a 5. I bet Gary is a fan of hashtag release the Eric sketch, right? Gary, everybody is a fan.
Absolutely.
Yeah, of course.
Some Dale Keown.
Oh, shout out. It is.
Cover.
Young Sykes with a 5 said hell to Eric, and my favorite boomer, Gary, by the way. Your story about jail on, I'm guessing, that side scrollers was very interesting. I didn't know how corrupt things were in there. Oh, prison sucks, dude. I can only imagine.
Yeah, that's when I learned about how corrupt government was, Eric.
If any other place will do it, that'll do it.
Yeah, they feel real free to act comfortably in front of prisoners because we're just numbers, right? So I got to see like low level corruption and when I was working in the office job, I saw high level money embezzlement corruption. That was my great awakening to the politics that I have that are very similar to yours.
Yeah.
Today.
Yeah.
So
that'll do it.
Yeah.
Scotty with a 5. Big difference between criticism and what Gary and Eric do and outright hatred and jealousy, what most first haters do. Yeah, I mean, like we've mentioned this before. There's obviously a fundamental difference between like me and Gary. Like we actually love this shit. You can tell from our fucking backgrounds. We're kind of fans, right?
Yeah.
And maybe where we have spent a lot of time subsidizing this shit. Yeah, there's obviously a difference between that and some person that just doesn't like me for whatever reason.
Right. Like, again, I'm talking about my video that came out. Sorry, but like ultimately, we care. Like when you guys in the chat are talking about this, and you're like, "Hey, like Planet Hulk's overrated. This is that. Like, that's fans, and I fucking love it. By the way, don't ever change. Don't ever stop. Just tell me something I like is overrated. I love that shit. It's fine because we're being normal fans. We care. Like when we were going out on social media, they love to conflate us with the trolls. Like trolls are always going to exist. They're always going to be part of.
Can't get rid of them. They're going to be
can't get rid of them, and they actually serve a purpose in some cases.
Yeah.
But what happens is they conflate the worst of the worst trolls, which are mostly 12-year-olds, just like, hey, I wonder if I can drop some, politically incorrect term or some word I can't say on YouTube. And they conflate it with the fans who are just going, hey, Captain Marvel sucks. And they're like, oh, misogynist. No, the character legitimately sucks. This is a person who just told you who's been buying comics, reading them for years.
Yes. That
Captain Marvel sucks. Stop focusing on Captain Marvel. Focus on Spider-Man. Make Spider-Man a better character. And then, work on something else. And they conflated all that. And what they did is they took you all for granted. And they tried to lump you all as toxic fans when you were telling them, I still care.
Yeah,
and now you don't.
Yeah.
And they're like, where'd everybody go?
Exactly.
You fucking retards. We had people telling you 6 years that they loved this shit, they cared, and you were calling them every name in the book, and they still hung around for years because they love this shit. We love this shit.
That is true.
And you don't. The people working there don't, and we can tell. So
shows in the work.
Yep. And now it's all gone.
It shows in the work. Well, Oka Mijil, just Goku. I'm just going with that. 24 months says, I wish you guys the best, and I love River standing against the industry by selling millions of dollars of your own comics to prove that the current industry is corrupt and BS. Well, yeah, it shows that obviously, but it also shows there is a demand here. Like, so when people will be like, hey, it's just the industry thing when sales go down or unit sales go down. No, Riververse proves that no, there's a really big demand here for this type of material that both readers that have been around for decades and new ones that they are willing to give this stuff a shot. So, that's important. Satoshi with a 2 said, yes, sir. Produce on Respawn. Yeah, produce that Respawn on Apex Legends. I remember you telling me that. Yeah, we're gonna chat. We're gonna fucking chat. Kurthy with a 20 says, developer of a funny take on a movie making a collectible card game called Screenplay on Steam. Oh, so you're the developer. Got you. Says huge fan of you guys. Hope to work with you in some form soon. Look, man, we love to enter into the gaming industry, Kurthy. So shout out. Appreciate you being here. Avery Parker with a 5 says, Hulk, the halls of Asgard echo your rage. Oh, that ain't nothing yet. Says Avery Parker with a 5. Let's see you in here as always. Avery flying through these. Anthony draws cartoons. Captain Marvel didn't even know who Captain Marvel was in the Captain Marvel movie. They gave her amnesia the whole time. Great job, guys. Vito with a 5 says, I understand if you can't say anything. What's the status of I'll have a statement today. Literally today. We'll talk about some stuff. The status is like, make no mistake, it's the same status that it had been before. But the only thing that, like I say, I'll say everything in the statement, so it won't be anything kind of we'll gloss over everything, how fucking silly this whole shit is. But like I said, just understand nothing stops with the Riververse. Nothing even stops with the fucking character, and that's worst case scenario even considered. So we'll be fine. But I do want to talk about this because we're almost 2 hours in, and I said this was a story that we were going to fucking talk about because it broke not too long ago, and I want to make sure that we get into it. So again, I appreciate everybody here, by the way, hanging out. But let me go ahead and share this really quick. And that is Studios declare, it's coming from Deadline. Studio declare SAG-AFTRA talks suspended, and they slammed Guild for rejecting terms offered to WGA and DGA. Reading just a couple of these, says after less than 2 weeks, latest negotiation between SAG-AFTRA and the studios and streamers have broken down and have been suspended. So there was once upon a time where people were telling us, oh, they're getting close. It doesn't look like that's going to be the case. After meaningful conversations, it is clear the gap between the AEM, PTP, and SAG-AFTRA is too great, and conversations are no longer moving us in a productive direction. And that's what Carol Lombardini led a group in a statement late tonight after what was described to Deadline to be by one of the sources as a much rockier than usual talks. So they're probably cussing each other out, I guess. The collapse of talks for at least the time being was preceded by a proposal earlier in the day from the Actors Guild to the AMP TP. And they decided that it couldn't swallow, as Deadline reported today. And over the past week of deliberations between the parties, the main stumbling block to a deal seems to be SAG-AFTRA's desire for revenue sharing for successful streaming shows. I'm gonna address that really quick, and we're gonna dive into this for sure. I'm gonna have to get Gary's thoughts on it. Like, and I went through it. Some of these demands are fucking crazy. I'm gonna be completely honest, and I know when you say that shit, everybody's gonna say you're pro mega corporation, when all I'm saying is that they're a match made in hell and they need each other. But when you read some of this stuff, like, and they want a share of monies, let's say that a lot of it's not even tied to profit. And when you consider, like, it's fun. This is why when I hear the term residuals, I always thought it was hilarious, because I'm like, what residuals? When I look, you can't. I mean, every other story we're hearing of a company, mega corporate producer, whatever, actively losing fucking money on streaming services. So they're wanting to make money off the money that's not there. So essentially, they want more costs, which is really all that this is being debated right now. They want more costs to be ate by the producers. Is what it boils down to. But I found that to be hilarious. But also, yeah, looking at this, it is interesting, because supposedly it wasn't too long ago they were talking like they were getting close, and it doesn't look like they're close at all. In fact, this article seems to point out that it ain't fucking close. Like, these guys are there are some core differences that I guess maybe is non-negotiable, and perhaps on both sides there. I want to know what Gary thinks about it, though.
My first take on this was the studios needed more time to cancel more projects, so they walked away from the table.
Okay, yeah. Got you.
I mean, if they would get this thing done if they needed to get it done. I mean, ultimately, I think the actors are going to get close to what they wanted, and the studios have the money, so they have the power to make the actors think, well, we got this great deal. But they can still cancel projects. They are in charge of the money. They are in control.
Yeah.
And Hollywood is experiencing massive shrinkage right now. Massive shrinkage. And also, you can just take products elsewhere. You can outsource all of this and work in the UK. That's where a lot of the stuff is. Where, House of the Dragon worked entirely through the strike. The residuals, I mean, it's going to be impossible. They're going to want some transparency too.
Yeah.
And we'll see. The writers got that. I guess they're going to get it. The actors will get it. But the fact of the matter is, they're going to be making less shows, fewer shows. They're going to make fewer shows, and they're going to be employing fewer people. We're already seeing massive layoffs at talent agencies, agents that talent agencies are laying off people right now. Paramount Plus just came out and said, we're not making any more limited series for streaming. We're done. In America. Not anywhere else. In America. Disney, one of the biggest players, is falling apart right now, possibly going through a proxy war, and possibly selling off all of their assets in India. Possibly, Warner Brothers might sell. We heard that rumor. That I don't know if the government would ever allow that, but Warner Brothers might sell to Universal. We're going to see what the strikes caused was they're hastening Hollywood's demise, and they're going to cause something far worse. You're going to see fewer companies. Oh yeah, because they're going to merge. They're going to merge, buy each other out, and the big studios aren't the biggest thing in Hollywood anymore. Now it's companies that do other things, and that's never worked in the past. Because I think Pepsi came in, tried to own studios, and this has never worked in the past. So and meanwhile, There's other forms of entertainment that are crushing Hollywood. Gaming, for
Gaming
instance, is
that's number
crushing
one.
Hollywood. And there's, just you and I, people in the chat.
That's where people are getting
doing
their
live
entertainment.
streams. That's where they're getting their entertainment from now. And we're getting fewer good shows. There's still good shows, but there's a finite amount of entertainment out there. You can't make talent. There's a finite number of talent out there, and you just can't shit it out. You got to cultivate it. And Hollywood ruined their minor leagues with the independent film circuit, and now they're paying the price. And they put a bunch of rules on themselves where they can't freely create. And these studios, before the Oscar rules, these studios had those very same rules when it came to hiring people who work on shows. So the talented people are now just walking away. So yeah, stay on strike forever. I don't care. I don't give a shit.
I don't think anybody, like, on our side of it's like, it doesn't matter. And look, the way that I see it, and I've learned a lot about this industry even in the last several months, about how it's shifting, it's going really fast. And what you generally see with these mega corporate kind of setups is that they're really often late to the party, right? It's more of a lagging indicator of what was happening. I mean, maybe that has to do a lot with the money, because again, when you have that much and you're dealing with that much, be it loan to debt, whatever it is, or you just have it in capital, you can stay around a lot longer. And the reason I emphasize that is, if a company like me lost millions of dollars on a project, we're fucking done. Okay, like, this is what it is. There's no real turning back from that. It's just like you fucking did something horrendous, and your company can't sustain. You won't be able to sustain it, at least in the capacity that you were before, at minimum. And with Hollywood, and it's a little different, right? So if we kind of rack up all the losses over just take the last 3 years, they are substantial, and it is industry wide. There's some couple of winners here and there, but it's really industry wide if you think about it, as far as the major players, right?
Mm-hmm.
As far as all of them losing, like, I don't know, outside of Netflix. I mean, and even Netflix for a little bit had a window where they weren't really profitable. They had a window there, but as far as that streaming wing for these companies, it's not really getting a return, at least not that they thought, right? We know what happens with Disney. We know every quarter they've lost literally not millions, billions of dollars. So it's just not a sustainable practice. So I think what scares a lot of people, it just goes back to the comic book industry. Same thing. What scares a lot of people is when we get on the other side of whatever it is, if it does become more niche, if it is more so people producing film that are in, and that's what those studios are, they're producers of film. That's their primary driving force for their economy, if you will. I obviously don't have a problem with that. I have no issues with it. But, does that make sense for the industry itself as a standard? Even if you look at what the writers deal got, like when I look at even like some of these minimums, like not in what it is, their money, like minimums, like as far as people in the fucking writer's room, like I look at that shit. I'm like, the fact that that's just a standard, you're crippling yourself. None of that makes any fucking sense, but whatever. It's not my money. It's not my deal to be made here. But I don't think that translates economically, unless, to your point, they're going to be doing less of them, right? They're just simply going to do less of the movies, if you will, or the TV shows. And then in that case, really the whole industry is losing there, at least in that former setup. So the new way, I think, will be entertainment assets that focus on making movies, that focus maybe on making TV shows, right? And they may not be multi-billion-dollar fucking corporate entities. And like I say, to that I say, what's the problem there? Like, what do you have against that? Unless you're one of those who I need a spot. I need a spot who can pay me this amount of money to do this type of work. And really, in a lot of cases, it's only the mega corporation, right? So that's why, and this is the point that I made about unions, right? In their case, like not just in general, but more so as it pertains to Hollywood. It's like, dude, y'all are trying to make a deal with the devil. And the fact that there's not a lead charge among any of these fuckers, that let me know everything I needed to know. Lead charge by any of these fuckers, especially at the top of these unions. And I mean, like, as players, like big actors, that are like saying, how can we get away from this setup and exist outside of the AMPTP and all this other shit? That conversation wasn't even on the fucking table. It's not even part of the conversation has to do with, we need their money, we need their resources. They can subsidize us. So let's try to enter into this deal with the devil, with the people that, not the people that I'm saying the devil, which I'd agree, but y'all are calling them that. Like so I see all this shit that they had been saying. You call them greedy fucks and all sorts of shit.
Dude, 3 weeks ago, they were talking about, 3-4 weeks ago, both the writers and the actors were talking about breaking up corporate Hollywood and asking the government to do it.
Yeah.
That got quiet.
Yeah, exactly. So for me, it's like, that was what this was about from the get-go. I mean, it's a match made in hell. They kind of need each other situation. It's more so that they need them to produce the content that they need. As far as the actors are, and of course it's a match made in hell. They're picking from the other side picking from him, and they're like, hey, we need.
I think you put it best. I mean, you're begging to make a deal with the devil. You're just begging, please subsidize our crap, and we're gonna get plenty of crap. That's that. There's no danger of that. I just don't think we'll get as much as we've gotten in the past because they can't afford it anymore. It was funny.
That wasn't sustainable for a long.
The showrunner from, Lower Decks, Star Trek Lower Decks, was like, hey, you need to show enthusiasm for this show now because we don't want happen to us what happened to Prodigy. Translation: people actually need to watch our shit now. They're not just throwing money at us to put content on streaming service, especially with a parent company that's making that's running at about $12 a share right now. We actually need to make money, and we need you to watch this time, which just exposed all the Star Trek, everything on streaming. It's like, oh, nobody is watching. Like we've been saying the whole time. You can tell on social media when people are actually watching a show.
True. Absolutely.
Because
you can tell what's fake.
Yep. Oh, absolutely. Because you'll hear details. You will hear details. When there is positive interest in a show like House of the Dragon or One Piece, people will go online and discuss things they liked about that show, specific details, and not just like, Ahsoka's great. I love Sabine. Isn't she the bestest? And, it's like, and that's, so much of it is crap out there. But when something's good, you just know.
You hear about it, man. And that's it's interesting. I think there is kind of restructuring of these various entertainment industries, if you will. Still trying to catch up with the technology that has kind of, to me, decentralized a lot of things. And I'm excited. I'm excited for the future. I can't say they are, but I'm very excited for the future.
Why do you think they're scared to death of AI?
Yeah,
they're scared to death of AI. Not for the real reasons in about 20 years when the robots are starting to make themselves and to come to kill us all. But, it's a tool. It's effing Photoshop on steroids. And it's a tool that will make animation easier, drawing comic books easier. And when the writers came in, they didn't say they weren't going to use it. They wanted control.
They're going to use it. They
wanted first right. Yeah, they put it in the deal that we wanted, like, basically first right of refusal on it. Because they have been using it. You can't, and whether you like it or not, it's here. It is here. Shad is out there making his arguments about it, which is great.
Yeah, man. Holy shit.
But people are going to be using them for thumbnails. And you know what? We're probably going to get like some decent animation in the very near future out of which was being priced out, and this will make animation a little easier. If you like animation, it's absolutely priced out. We were talking to Comic Book Girl yesterday about what went into making Akira, and it's just insane. It's absolutely insane.
Animation costs a lot of fucking money. I gotta be the first. Trust me. If don't nobody fucking else knows it, trust me. I fucking know. And this is a lot. This is a big reason why we're kind of going our route and trying to build our kind of internal team here to make this shit affordable. Because there are creative ways to make it affordable. But under the current structure, like that everybody else follows, bro, it's so many hands in the cookie jar that have to get paid. It's a wonder why it's so hard to make money off of it. I said the same thing about comics. It's like Do you need all these people to be a part of this shit? And then do you need 3-4 people making money off of it? Like I don't know, man. Like that doesn't sound like it makes any sense. So for me, as a creative, I'm excited. Like I could totally understand why if you're not excited, because the current setup or what is deemed as the industry standard is about to change, or has already changed, and really the industry.
Yeah, because when you go to work, when current year person goes to work at Disney, they're like, I am more special than you because I get a paycheck from Disney. That's flat out how they feel. Doesn't make them more talented. Probably guarantees they're not more talented. But yeah, it's all the game pieces have been just wiped off the table, dude. Yeah. And it's
about to turn into the fucking Wild West. And I say, I fucking love that. Like people, look, I said this a million times. With even the Rippaverse, if we didn't have a spot on the other side, I'd still prefer that the current structure be upended. I still prefer that it change, and I still prefer that it morph into something that's far more beneficial for both creatives and customers. Didn't matter if we were a part of it at all. We're going to be a part of it. But even if we were not a part of it, I would still prefer that be the setup, right? So we got technological changes, even in just how this stuff is produced, not even on the AI tip, like even like in cameras being cheaper. Fucking, you see people shooting shit. Well, I've seen people shoot films with fucking iPhones, bro. And I'm like, what the fuck did I just watch? These guys doing some very creative stuff. Now, even with something like that. So it's far more affordable to produce, and you can get more passion in these projects as well. People giving an actual fuck about it. It's going to look a lot different. So I would say take advantage, if you are creative, of all these tools that are being available to you, linking up with people that may have that expertise. Because really, see, this is where I'm at. In years past, there was always a ceiling. Right? If you want to know why so many of these, why does so-and-so sell the property off for X millions of dollars? Why does this artist give their shit to this property? The reason why that was the standard and had been for decades is because you'd always hit a ceiling. Everybody, didn't matter where you were at, to the point to where you had to go through somebody else in order to reach the next level. So if you wanted it to get on the radio, if you wanted your songs to get played on MTV or some shit, and whatever it was, as far as your music video, so you can be more known, that was a ceiling. The internet alone has fucking blown the what ceiling, right? So and everybody's trying to catch up, but also the technology has knocked the ceiling off as well. So now when I come within a year have two multi-million-dollar fucking campaigns, right, based around comic books that I started, I don't have to. First of all, they couldn't give me enough money to make that. Like, there's no money that Marvel or DC, who are the biggest two dollars. You think they're gonna give me $6 million plus to do any fucking? They don't give nobody that money over there, and they sure couldn't. So this is what I'm saying. Like, the setup has just completely changed, and I think that it's an exciting time to be a creative, because you don't have to go through these cats anymore. It used to because there was a ceiling. Now it's like, well, who says I have to? Why can't I do it myself? Or why can't I link up with other people? Because it's very much a team sport. And why can't we collaborate to make something special happen, make this profitable for us, and make this something that customers actually want? Why can't I do that? And well, that question, you can. You absolutely can. So, again, I think it's an exciting time to be creative, and I think some people looked at it like, it's always funny watching people try to latch on to other folks' wagons, and you have people that aren't even fucking part of these unions, like, oh, this is your problem too. Like, how's it my problem? Like, what the fuck does that got to do with me? What does that conflict have to do with fucking me? Like, other than maybe getting content out of it, or just looking at it from the economics of it all, and as a learning kind of thing to teach. But like that, they're not helping me out. You know what I mean? Unless you're talking about making bad content that people turn away from. But like, this isn't my fight, effectively, because I'm not trying to play by those rules. So, it's just something to take in consideration. I think if you are creative, and it's an exciting time. It's an exciting time. Okay, let me fly. I'm about to be flying through these. I see your Mike has bad knees. I appreciate the 11 months. We got says there's All-Star baseball AC Texas base.
All Texas
Oh
baseball.
yeah,
That's
that's I
right.
got you. Yes. Are you going with the ass? You know I'm a Rangers guy. To make the world. So obviously I'm a Rangers guy. I always have. I was wearing Ranger shorts yesterday. So it's always been the case. I'm from fucking DFW, so that's gonna be where I'm at.
Yeah, I'm going for the Rangers because of Bochy.
There you go.
Bochy guy.
There you go. Okay, let me fly through these. Clobbering Times with a Five says, hell, Eric and Gary, enjoying the comics talk. Hope you'll do it more often. Have either of you read Englehart and Rogers' Detective Comics run?
Yes.
I have. What numbers are those?
Englehart goes back into. Are you talking about the Englehart run prior to? Because Englehart worked on it. It was early '80s, right?
I have to know the numbers. That's the only way that I'm gonna know. I've read a lot of fucking. I probably read more Detective Comics than any fucking.
Klobby, I've met Englehart.
So yes,
in my store, I've met Steve Englehart. He's a freaking legend, dude.
70s. Clobbering Time says 70s.
70s, yeah. Okay, 70s. Yes, I have read those. They're fucking awesome. Because he did a run later too, Klobby. That was Batman. Yes.
Shout out. Grateful Dog with a 2 says streaming and comics both need to release the numbers. Well, they're gonna. I guess this deal, they kind of having to. Comics know what I'm talking about with this, trying to figure out kind of how much these guys are supposed to be getting paid. They have kind of had. I don't want to say their hand forced because then again, like, does that not work? I don't know. Maybe I'm overthinking this, but does that not work in the favor of the producers if they say, "Hey, we didn't make no fucking money"?
Yeah. But it also works against them because if they show that there's no interest, then the investors will freak out. So you have one or the other. So that way they hold back, they skew, they're dishonest. Ahsoka, they said the finale. No, wait, they said a Loki first episode had 10.9 million views worldwide over 3 days. That's fucking terrible. That's horrible. That's absolutely terrible. No, good numbers are a sales tool. Why do you think YouTube whooped the crap out of everybody? There's a little number that tells you how many people watch the freaking video. There's likes and stuff. That matters. Why do you think Barbenheimer happened? Because people were watching those box office numbers and they're like, oh, wow, people are liking this. It's a gauge. It's a gauge to see if people like stuff. They freaking matter. These numbers matter. But more importantly, the people have to believe in those numbers. We pretty much know how YouTube views are counted. We don't know how Rumbles are. We don't know how, well, Shad did a video, but we don't know. And once we figure out and start trusting that source, then those things matter. We don't trust anything. Rings of Power come out and say, 125 million people watched the opening episode worldwide over whatever amount of days. Nobody believes them. Nobody fucking believes them. They're liars.
Yeah.
So they need to work that out. And they're also going to have to do, if they want advertisers to come in, they're going to have to disclose all of the numbers for the advertisers. Because I wouldn't advertise with anybody if I didn't have access to. I need data, and I need something. I need a third party to back this up.
That's a good point.
That's
a good point. Definitely considering that money's getting tighter for those guys. Like, who wants to fucking spend all this money on advertisers when nobody's fucking viewing the product? So. Craig Morning with a 5 said they got to do negative revenue share for when a show chews ass. Yeah, that would pop the woke Hollywood bubble real quick. Well, I think that's again what's going to end up happening. And so the studios, there's no really way that they come out a victor on this, but the actors don't as well, writers, because like I said, what is 2% of zero or -5 for that matter? You know what I mean? So if I'm losing money,
that's why they want. They don't want a percentage of profits. They want a percentage of revenue. Revenue. It's like, wait a minute.
Yeah. It doesn't make fucking sense. Like you want money regardless of whether or not we make it, on the back end. So you want it up front and you want it on the back end, even if we're actively losing money.
And listen, that's how I got paid when I was auto parts. So I got paid off revenue, but it's like a reasonable percentage. Right?
Yeah.
So we'll give you, 2% of total revenue of the department, or 1%, or a higher percentage of what you earn for the department. That's what I got paid off of.
Yeah.
But sure, 1% here and there, but they want a massive print. Plus they want money up front. Plus they want access to everything. So you got to, ask for immortality in a 18 karat gold toilet seat while you're at it.
Whoa, Burt Wolf with a 50. No message either, man. That's cocky. Also 4 months says, got my hoodie. Yes. Those hoodies, you can get those Riververse hoodies at riververse.com if you have not already. Shout out to all of you guys. Man, again, Brent, man, I appreciate that 50 because that's a lot of money. We got Festival with a 10 says, if you want all Hollywood, you have to break the unions, but the unions pay higher wages, have benefits, and pay for health insurance. Until you offer pros something better, they won't flee. Well, this is the thing.
Do the unions pay for health benefits? Because it kind of sounded like they wanted the companies to do that.
Yeah, they wanted them to do the pensions and all kinds of weird shit. But this is the thing, though. I'll push back on some of that. I think in some capacity, like it's the same thing with the comic book industry. I'll push back on that just a little bit. These guys are not getting paid as much as you think that they are. Like whatever number you think that they actually get at the end, I mean, you include all their fees and all that shit, it's a lot less than what you're probably thinking that they make. It's just the honest to God's truth. However, definitely when it comes to profitability, we are seeing, and I'm pretty sure Jen and Sylvia are there in the chat, they can back me on this. We're seeing that a lot of the independent, so they're cheaper made, but in cost, not cheaper per se, but they cost less to make, and there's not as many hoops and all this shit. But we're seeing a bigger, you're seeing often these are becoming some of the most profitable in terms of profitability, in terms of what they're spending versus what they're getting, films that we've seen over the last, like, of all time. I mean, when you really consider and break down some of the numbers. So I will push back on that in the sense that, is that true and are we sure? Definitely when we have not seen the alternatives really start to thrive in the way that they are, right? I can say from an independent, from the comic book industry, all of my guys get paid more than what they get over at Marvel and DC. Like I can say that. It's not just comparable, they're getting paid better. Right. Yeah, I don't have the resources that Marvel and those have. However, the reason why we're able to do that is because all of that's factored in, how much it will cost, what we're spending on various things. It's just different. Right. So I don't have to. You got to understand, with all those middle folk that are involved in how the industry works, that's more people taking money as well. So I will push back on that there. While I would agree that, yeah, alternative is alternative, I would push back on, if they're even getting that money that's that comparable, even from their minimums. Like, they got to start reading fine print as far as what their minimums actually are when it's all said and done, which includes their union fees and how much they're having to pay. Is it actually what it is that they would be getting if they had a hit series or a hit movie that was completely independent? They probably would get more, because like I said, I can speak to that for my guys here in the other industry. So it's the same thing. So we know that Marvel and DC has a stranglehold on the industry, yet I pay better. So there's that.
Yeah. That's what it kind of comes down to.
Yeah. So
who pays better?
Yeah. At the end of the day. So we have Vito Bashad with a gifted 5 memberships. Appreciate that. We have Jose with a 5 says, if Gary and Eric were editors for Big Two, what would your plan of action? Which creators hire for Spider-Man and Batman to be good? Well, as far as Batman and the Bat family, there is a guy who works for the Riververse and is writes the next book, who I would have fucking in charge of that whole entire deal. But it's really that simple. It's not, for me, it's not a difficult thing. We reboot this fucking final reboot, scratching everything. We let the fans know what the fuck is canon in the past, what has not been canon, what was all bullshit, and we don't ever deviate. We make a promise, hell, contractually, that we never fucking deviate from this shit again, so everybody understand who the definitive characters are, and that way it's streamlined, and that way, especially for new readers, they have some sense of direction. They have some fucking sense of direction as far as what costs, what is what actually happened, what's canon, what's all that shit. Not that Marvel or DC would be the same for me. So That's how I approach it.
Mark Millar says he's got an idea.
Yeah, and that guy seems to know exactly what the fuck it is.
He kind of seems to know what he's doing. That guy.
Cajun Corey with a 10. No message. I appreciate that. So Netflix is in huge debt, but you lads are taking in super chats and offering value. Movies need to be back in theaters. TVs need to have pay-per-view and ads to make money. They rather make propaganda. Oh, I don't disagree with that. Look, the economic setup, when you start, even just a comment Joe below, if you start to actually break it down, you'll see where it doesn't make sense and what needs to be adjusted, right? I will say it's not a one thing, right? But everybody needs to do it this way. It's more of that there are people need to be able to exhaust their options and stop following what is deemed as a standard if it doesn't make sense. In my How to Make Money in Comic series, that's what I'm really going over. It's like I will explain to you what's being done and what has been done, but what I'm really trying to get you to understand is why it doesn't fucking make sense. Even though everybody's doing it, I get it. It's the standard. Everybody's doing it, but it doesn't make sense. So that's the advantage that you have as an independent, because you get to analyze that, try to choose some sort of course of action, plan, whatever it may be, that makes sense for you, even if it doesn't make sense for other people, that makes sense for you and what it is that you're trying to build. And even when it doesn't work, and this is what you have, the advantage that you have over the big dogs, and we've talked about this in previous streams, Gary, you have the ability to pivot in the event that something's gone wrong or right, and maybe you need to do more of it, right? You get to pivot, and that's just something that the mega corporate structure doesn't really allow them to do. They kind of have to double down in some way, shape, or form, or let's say to a lesser degree in comparison to what it is that we can, where I can see something, I'm like, okay, that didn't work. I'm changing that right now. Like, and them, it's like, oh, well, you got to ask so-and-so who asked so-and-so, ask so-and-so, then we got to change up all the plans and all that shit. That's just an advantage that you have, right? If you're an independent. So,
yep.
Okay, Darian with a 20 says, hey, Gary and Ripper, did you guys see Camelot's video about YouTube super chatted videos with 100 views, but with 90K in super chats at 10 per? YouTube wouldn't let me use the term, so I'll just say fishy. Oh,
wow, good for you.
No, I haven't seen anything about that. I haven't seen
that's crazy. So YouTube made almost 30K off that then.
Yeah, I haven't seen that.
So if it was somebody being fishy, they just gave YouTube a lot of money. Yeah, I don't know. That's there's always somebody trying to get schemes and scams. Yeah, always going on.
Schemes and scams, you know. With another two, Pastor Miles, appreciate that to keep the press strong. All right, guys, that was the last one that I got. Gary, you got a video? Did it already go live?
Yeah, it went live about an hour ago.
It went live about an hour ago. Talking about Marvel
is failing, and I think we have plenty of evidence now. It was supposed to be a Loki review, and I'm like, well, nothing happened in that show. Nothing worth talking about. And I came off of Ahsoka, so I'm like, I didn't hate it as much as I hated Ahsoka. That doesn't mean I liked it. But then it turned into something else when I'm like, wait a minute. You know, we've broken down a lot how, hey, the MCU's going to fail because they're repeating the same mistakes as the all new, all different Marvel. I mean, it's a bigger era than that, but that's what it's been named.
Gotcha.
But then I went over like beat by beat, and I'm like, oh, they've already made all of the same mistakes that all new, all different Marvel is. So and now it's not failing, even though that's what the title is. It's already failed.
Yeah,
it's already failed, and it's weird because I was working on this before the Daredevil news. It was based on the Ironheart stuff that really kind of inspired it. And a Neon tweet from Clownfish TV when he talked about apathy, because we're well into apathy. Yeah. The interest from Loki was just not there. Yeah. Like nobody cared about the show. So it's about apathy, and it's about like how you screwed over the fans and how the fans are right. But I really wanted to kind of lay out like, oh, they really did, including firing two Alonzos.
Yeah.
So, which was total coincidence, but it's weird.
Yeah.
It's weird. And they did the exact same things. They didn't have a totally awesome Asian Hulk. But they did have a female Super Skrull named Gaia, who they gave all the fucking powers to in the Marvel Universe. And it's so stupid. So, and now they recognize it. And this, ultimately, this is what we've been screaming our heads off over the last 5 years. And, South Park coming out with the special that I wish they would have done this years ago. And I was asking, I'm like, woke shit is so easy to make fun of.
Yeah.
It is comedy gold. If you are a comic worth your salt, which there's many of them out there, are Kurt Metzger, of course, Chrissy Mayer, our own Chrissy Mayer. We love Chrissy. Kyle Dunnigan, Kill Tony out there. Like, it is comedy gold. It is the lowest hanging fruit. That's what, I mean, admittedly, I picked the lowest hanging fruit because making fun of woke Hollywood is easy. It's fucking easy. They're so stupid and predictable now to the point where, hey, they're going to make a Rings of Power thing. I totally bet they're going to make Galadriel like a dude. They're going to put her in armor and have her fighting orcs. And they did it. And I was joking. So, I mean, it's just predictable parody. And now it's over. Party's fucking over.
Yeah.
Party's over.
There you go.
Oh, well.
That's live on his channel now. So be sure to go check that out if you have not already. I do have a video. It's getting edited. We'll be talking about lost.
I liked your last one.
All times. Appreciate that. Like all sorts of stuff there. So that'll be up very soon. But other than that, man, I appreciate you, Gary, joining us. Hopefully we can do this again.
Hell yeah.
Soon enough, man. This was a blast, man. You know, I love having you here talking comics and all this good stuff. You offer just a perspective like absolutely no other. And it's been just an awesome thing to see, man. You just being out there, just killing it, absolutely killing it. With everything that you do and all the videos, and just I just love to see you be great, man. So again, I appreciate you coming by, and of course I appreciate all you guys that have joined us today that hung out. We'll have this live. There's some stuff we got to clean up, but this will be live shortly after. But yeah, I appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you guys so much. But it is time for us to get up out of here. So we're going to be out of here. And until next time, y'all be easy. Peace out.
Peace out.